Madam Chair, just to let you know, when it comes to the Park District slide, I'm going to share them for John so he doesn't have technical problems like he had the first go around. So I have his presentation and I'll be moving the presentation.
Okay, good. Okay, we're about 2 minutes away. Welcome to all of you who've joined us out there in the streamland. Okay, now I'm going to start in 1 minute.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to call this meeting to order at 10 a.m. on Thursday, September 17th. As many of you know, the governor has recently signed Public Act 101-0640, making certain amendments to the Open Meetings Act so that we, along with other boards and commissions, can continue to host virtual meetings during this COVID-19 public health emergency, provided that certain conditions are met. One of those conditions is that I, as head of the Chicago Plan Commission, determined that an in-person meeting of the Chicago Plan Commission is not practical or prudent. I want to make sure our virtual meeting meets all the conditions of the Open Meetings Act as amended. Therefore, I am making a determination pursuant to the newly created Section 7E2 of the Open Meetings Act that an in-person meeting of this commission on Chicago planning is not practical or prudent. Similar, I am also making a determination pursuant to the newly created Section 75 that because of the disaster as declared by the governor, it is unfeasible for at least one member of the Chicago Plan Commission or its chief administrative officer or its chief legal officer to be physically present at the meeting place inasmuch as there is no physical meeting place. Before we get into the full meeting agenda for the September 17, 2020 Chicago Plan Commission meeting, I would like to ask everyone that because we are meeting virtually, please be mindful of your surroundings in terms of noise. Remember to keep yourself muted when you are not speaking. The meeting is being recorded and also live streamed for public viewing, and we welcome the public. Lastly, if you are an active participant in the meeting, especially if you are speaking, please do not watch the live stream as this will cause audio interference. Thank you. And I also want to quickly provide guidance to those who have pre-registered to provide testimony on the cases for public hearing today. Those who requested to testify at the Plan Commission today should have already submitted testimony forms, which include the speaker's full name and address, as well as the public hearing item number, and those forms have been gathered by the staff. I would also like to remind our presenters to please be mindful of their presentation length and to please stay on point in a concise and efficient manner so as to respect the time of all in attendance. And out of respect for others, speakers should please limit your comments to 3 minutes. When your name is called, your microphone will be unmuted to allow you to make your comments. The public portion of the meeting is not a question and answer session of staff or the applicant, but an opportunity for attendees to voice their opinions on a particular proposal. Out of respect for others, please do not interrupt or disrupt the speakers. Any individual who disrupts the presentation or any subsequent comment session may be muted and removed from the virtual hearing session. I will now do a roll call. Let me first say good morning to Commissioner Biaggi.
Here. Good morning.
Good morning. Commissioner Brumfeld.
Here.
Commissioner Burnett. I know will be here, or I suspect will be here. Commissioner Cox. Commissioner Flores.
Here.
Commissioner Garza. Commissioner Grossman. Commissioner Kelly.
Kelly's here.
Good morning, Mr. Commissioner.
Good morning.
Commissioner Lyons.
Here.
Commissioner Moore.
Here.
Commissioner Murphy.
Here.
And then Commissioner Novata. Commissioner Osterman. Commissioner Reyes.
Here.
Commissioner Searle, I think, as you told me, is not going to be here. Commissioner Shaw.
Yes, here.
Ms. Posada. Commissioner Tunney.
Here.
Commissioner Villegas. And Commissioner Wagasbuck.
Here.
Good morning, everyone. All right, so now we will approve the minutes from the August 20th, 2020 regularly scheduled Plan Commission meeting. The minutes were distributed prior to today's hearing. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the regularly scheduled meeting of the Chicago Plan Commission held on August 20, 2020?
So moved by Commissioner Shaw.
Thank you, and seconded by?
Commissioner Reyes.
Thank you, Commissioner. So again, because we're doing this virtually, I need to do a roll call vote on everyone. So I'm going to try to get through these when I do these roll calls as quickly as I can. This is to approve the minutes. Commissioner Biaggi.
Yes.
Commissioner Brumfeld.
Yes.
Commissioner Burnett was not here. Commissioner Carter, yes. Commissioner Cox not here. Commissioner Flores.
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly.
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons.
Yes.
Commissioner Moore.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes.
Reyes.
Yes.
Shaw.
Yes.
Honey.
Yes.
Madam Chair, this is Alderman Villegas want to be recorded as present, and I'll be listening, but at the same time, we have a joint public safety and budget meeting occurring at the same time.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. So Commissioner Villegas is a yes on the minutes and is also present. Motion passes on approving the minutes. Prior to commencing the public hearings, we have one case for which the applicant is seeking a deferral to a date certain of October 15, 2020. The item is listed as D1 on the posted agenda. A proposed technical amendment to residential business plan development number 138 submitted by the applicant Montrose Clarendon Partners LLC for the property generally located at 4407 North Clarendon Avenue. The amendment to the plan development would allow animal services as a permitted use. No other changes to the plan development are proposed. Can I get a motion to defer this item to the October 15, 2020 Plan Commission meeting?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner, was that Lyons? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Second
By Commissioner Shaw.
Fantastic. And again, I must do a roll call vote. Commissioner Biaggi.
Yes.
Brumfeld. Brumfeld? All right, Cordova's a yes. Commissioner Flores,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Lyons,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Murphy,
Yes.
Reyes,
Yes.
Shaw. I assume is a yes because she's seconding the motion.
Did you call Commissioner Shaw?
I did.
Yes, yes, sorry, I couldn't hear that clearly. Thank you. Yes, it's a yes.
Commissioner Tunney,
Yes.
my voice might have faded a bit. Commissioner Villegas.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right, motion
Commissioner
passes.
Burfield's a yes as well.
Commissioner Wagasback's a yes.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Wagasbach. I knew you were here. Sorry. Commissioner Wagasbach is a yes, and now Commissioner Gaza has also joined us, and he is also a yes.
And Commissioner Brumfield.
And Commissioner Brumfeld is a yes. Okay. So, thank you. So that wasn't Gaza, that was Commissioner Brumfeld. Okay. So for the record, that was Commissioner Brumfeld. All right, now we will take public testimony for the items remaining on the agenda today. I have 3 people signed in to speak today. As I call your name, please wait a moment. You will be unmuted, and then you may proceed to speak. And be reminded that you do have 3 minutes to speak. All 3 speakers would like to speak about an omnibus item listed as C2 on the agenda for a proposed negotiated sale located at 4841 North Lips Avenue. And those speakers are Eva Skonrowski, Mario Makota, and Ian Main. And I'm sure you'll correct me if I did not say your names correctly. Go ahead. Let me call first on Ms. Skonrowski. Good morning, welcome.
Please press *6 to unmute yourself. Or if you're on a computer, you can just press the unmute button.
Are we able to unmute her?
Good morning. Can you hear me now?
We sure can. Good morning.
Good morning, members of the Chicago Planning Commission. I'm Eva Skoronsky, a longtime resident of Jefferson Park, 45th Ward. I would like to speak on behalf of the Copernicus Foundation to be given an opportunity to purchase the old fire department house at Lips and Ainsley and to accept their good faith offer of $300,000. Some background information. We in Jefferson Park are extremely proud to have such a stable and dedicated property owner in our midst. The Copernicus Foundation operates and maintains the Copernicus Center, which consists of the historic Gateway Theater and the newer acquired annex. Much effort and labor went into preserving the original theater. It was done with great care, and the results tell the story. The Copernicus Center has given our Jefferson Park and other Chicago residents many years of enjoyment, stemming from the following: top-notch productions and programs, both English-speaking and in various ethnic languages, all held at the beautiful historic Gateway Theater and bringing thousands of people annually to Jefferson Park. Christmas with Santa and a movie was shared by hundreds of kids from surrounding communities. Open House Chicago, the architectural tours, brought visitors from all areas of the state, plus Wisconsin. The annex served as our go-to winter farmers market, thereby giving our local farm vendors a chance to sell their fall crops, bringing in several hundred customers. Even the parking lot has been made available for semi-annual flea markets, enjoyed by both vendors and customers. But one of the biggest events sponsored by the foundation is Taste of Polonia, Polish Fest, which brings thousands of visitors to the area. It is talked about by everyone. Yes, I will say that the Copernicus Center puts Jefferson Park on the map. When asked where I live in Jefferson Park, and I just say around Milwaukee and Lawrence, the reply often is, oh, by the Copernicus Center. Now, the Copernicus Foundation has been looking to expand with their activities and believe that this opportunity has come. They now ask to be given the chance to acquire this available property, which is ideally located near their center. The plan is, first of all, to preserve the old firehouse by keeping the original facade. The same care will be given as was done for the Gateway Theater. Then there would be a restaurant, possibly with a brew pub on the main floor. Second floor will have 3 to 4 apartments, also outdoor dining areas, both in front and rear of building. It will become a very lovely spot with great curb appeal, inviting all commuters coming through this busy terminal to come on over. This restaurant will also be very instrumental as an additional stopping point for Polonia visitors. Being a current board member of the Jefferson Park Neighborhood Association, this request has received the approval of the entire board. So we again ask the members of the Plan Commission to show fairness and transparency in awarding this location to a loyal and dedicated property owner right here in Jefferson Park. I also ask my city to do the same. And please don't undervalue Jefferson Park properties to a low $1. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your being here, Ms. Skarowski. Mario Makota.
Yes.
We can hear you.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Great. Good morning, members of the Chicago Plan Commission. As you are aware, the City of Chicago gave public notice in June that the city intend to enter into a $1 negotiated sale for the old firehouse located at 4837-4841 North Lips to Mr. Pamavel, a developer with no ties to Jefferson Park community. In response to city request for alternative proposals set forth the public notice, the Copernicus Foundation, which is located steps away from the property, offer a bid of $300,000, which is well in excess than the $208,000 city appraisal price. As the president of the Copernicus Foundation, I am joining you today to strenuously object to the city's decision to sell the property to 4841 North Lips, LLC, for the following reasons. I implore the commission to vote against the resolution recommending an ordinance authorizing the negotiated sale of Mr. Pamavel. On September 15, 2020, the Copernicus Foundation received a letter of denial from project manager, Mr. James Wheaton, which has been delivered via email to the commission. The reason for denial are undisputedly unfounded. Mr. Wheaton claims we did not provide financial qualifications, but we did. We included our 990 tax filings as our ability to self-fund. Mr. Wheaton claims that we did not provide the sources and uses budget, but we did. Mr. Wheaton claims that we did not provide the timetable for completion, but the negotiated sale application does not ask for one. Mr. Wheaton claims that our proposal did not include the actual cost of remediation, but we were denied access to the property. In order to properly access the remediation numbers, access to the property would have also allowed us to provide a detailed timetable for completion. We intend to actively pursue and prove that Mr. Wheaton claims are not true so that our proposal receives fair consideration. Further, our proposal clearly represents the best interest of the community as it does not require any additional stories to be added to the existing building. It commits to restore the original historical firehouse facade, and it will feature a similar brewery pub concept that all residents will enjoy for years to come. Furthermore, the city's decision to sell the property to 4841 North Lips LLC for merely $1 means the city was turning down $299,909 during the time when every penny is crucial. In addition, the property would be returned to the property tax roll. I would like to reiterate that we are requesting a city of governmental financial assistance whatsoever to redevelop the property. As a neighbor to the property is value to us, and we will cover the full cost of any and all required remediation. Finally, since 1979, the Copernicus Foundation has been boosted to the life of Jefferson Park neighborhood.
Thank you. We appreciate your being here. The third speaker is Ian Main.
Morning, Madam Chairman, members of the committee. Yes, to bring you up to date, Carpenter's Local 58 has been on the north side since 1896. We moved from Lincoln Park to Lakeview to now Peterson Park. We wish to follow our members out in the Jefferson Park. We have several hundred members out there right now. We had formed a search committee as we are, our offices are confining. And we saw an article published in the native newspapers detailing the project being sold for $1. I immediately recognized it as a project I spoke with Alderman Arena about some time ago. I mean, we were not looking for property at that time. He told us that he had a developer for the project a couple of years ago. I thought it was a done deal, so we did not look in that area. But we were looking on Milwaukee Avenue. So that was July 17th when we first found out about it. So I immediately looked up the Development Commission, found out that July 4th, that they said that they were going to issue an RFP for the project. So I began trying to contact the city. August 6th, I sent an email to the FOIA asking for all the RFPs and responses, and I got no answer other than that they needed extra time because everybody's afraid of the COVID to come in and search records. Still have not got an answer to my FOIA since that date. I did send another email to the department asking Mr. Wheaton if we could have a walkthrough. That was of the project, August 19th, 2020. He replied that our request was denied for a walkthrough and inspection because it was terribly dilapidated. Nobody could go inside there. It's a page telling me about phase 2 environmental study, and that there is no anticipating upcoming RFP. It's been part of a portfolio for 10 years. They proposed a negotiated sale of the property to someone else, and I was kind of surprised that the city would do something like that without an RFP. And in his email, he attached the RFP for it. It had already been issued, and I guess the respondent was Anthony Simpkins. I guess I have to keep track of the clock. I apologize.
Do you have one last sentence or a couple of last sentences?
Yeah, we've been stonewalled trying to get any information about the property, and I can't figure it out. I mean, I understand the way things work. The current alderman is not the one that okayed the property, the sale. I think it should be a more democratic and open process.
Thank you. We appreciate the time that people take to provide the public comment. This is really important for us to hear from people on various items. So thank you to Ms. Skonrowski and Mr. Makata and Mr. May. That ends the public testimony section, and we're now in matters to be heard in accordance with the Interagency Planning Referral Act.
Commissioner Burnett is here.
Oh, good. Welcome, Commissioner Barnett. So we have now, I need a motion to approve items 1 and 2 under negotiated sale, as well as item 3 under the disposition heading. I don't know if commissioners have any questions. I think there are a couple of staff that are here and available if they want to respond, if we need them to respond to any questions that may have emerged, particularly out of the public testimony that we just heard. Let me take, normally we wouldn't do this, but I think because we have testimony on this item, do I have any, are there any commissioners who want more information from staff that's available here to respond? If not, I will accept a motion for approval of the negotiated sale.
Chairman, Alderman, this is Commissioner Tunney.
Yes, please, Commissioner Tunney, go for it.
My hand was up, and
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to pay attention to hands. Duh. Yes, and then so is Commissioner Lyons. Forgive me, you guys. It's been a month. All right, go ahead, Commissioner Tunney, then Commissioner Lyons, and then Commissioner Novata.
Thank you, Chairman. I know we have someone from the Department of Housing and or Department of Planning and Development to walk us through the process for the disposition that's in front of us today, so that we as commissioners are well aware of the due diligence on behalf of this disposal, because obviously our public comment period talks about an unfair process. So for the benefit of us, let's hear from I would like to hear from the department about the process. My understanding, I think even from listening to one of the witnesses, is this property has been vacant for 10 or more years. So can we hear from whoever wants to respond, housing and or?
Yeah, we have, I'm sorry, but Mr.
Chairman,
Yes, go ahead, Noah.
Jim Wheaton is probably the best to speak toward.
Jim, is he on here? Can he speak to this?
He is.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm here. Good morning, commissioners.
Good morning.
Okay, well, let me give you a quick timeline on what's going on with this project. As was noted earlier, the building has been vacant for nearly 10 years. It was formerly a Chicago firehouse. I believe sometime in the 1970s, it was vacated by the fire department because a new firehouse was built. It was then used by the Department of Streets and Sanitation for some period of time as a storage facility and garage. And then they vacated the building, boarded up the first floor, and left it unheated. So it has been a city-owned property actually since it was first built sometime in the early part of the 20th century. In September of 2017, a developer, 4841 Lips LLC, made an application for a negotiated sale of this property. There is a negotiated sale process that the Department of Planning and Development has overseen for many years. There's an application that's filled out, and then subsequent to that, there is additional information that is provided by the developer. There is no requirement under the negotiated sale process for a formal request for proposals. So in September of 2017, 3 years ago, the developer applied. In June of 2018, the city ordered an appraisal of the property that was paid for by the developer. The appraisal stated that the value of the property was $208,000 if it were fully remediated of the lead-based paint and asbestos that appeared to be in the property. In November of 2018, a phase 1 environmental scan was performed. It identified the potential lead-based paint and asbestos toxicity, as well as the possibility of an underground tank buried at the rear of the property. In the period between December of 2018 and the spring of 2019, the developer met with a group, the Preservation Chicago, with regard to the plan for the building, as well as Northwest Chicago Historical Society to talk about the plan. As a result of those conversations and discussions, the developer's original idea of adding 2 stories to the building was reduced to adding 1 story, so that there will be a 3rd floor addition that will have apartments, and the 2nd floor will have apartments, and the 1st floor will be a craft brewery, brew pub, restaurant. In March of 2019, a phase 2 environmental scan was performed, and that identified extensive lead-based paint and asbestos throughout the building in various locations. And that report provided interior and exterior photos of the property. In April of 2019, the developer then asked a certified remediation company to provide a bid for the work. And the cost of the work essentially is the same as the appraised value of a fully remediated building. By reports, and I don't have direct knowledge of this, sometime in the spring of 2019, there apparently was a public meeting hosted by then Alderman Arena, at which the developer discussed this proposal. And as far as I know, Alderman Arena provided his support for it because he then did issue a letter of support for the project. In July of 2019, Lake Effect Brewery, which is currently located and has been since 2011 at 4727 West Montrose, provided a letter of intent that to occupy the first floor and operate a restaurant and brew pub, and to move some portion of their brewing operation to that location. This tenant would require a zoning amendment to accommodate the restaurant brew pub operation. And so that was going to have to come later. In June of 2020, this year, there were several internal reviews with the Department of Planning and Department of Development, things that we refer to as our project roundtable, where projects are brought forward and discussed by staff, an executive project review where they're presented in more detail, and a design review meeting whereby staff at the Department of Planning and Development has a final review of the design of the building. And as a result of that design review, some minor corrections or suggestions were made with regard to some of the features on the exterior of the building and the setbacks on the third floor, which the developer has agreed to. In June of 2024, the developer also sent out June 24th of 2020, sent certified letters to the MBE, WBE agencies regarding the project in accord with what is required by the city. In June 29th of 2020, the developer received a pre-approval letter for financing for this project, which is going to cost approximately $2.5 million. On July 14th, the Community Development Commission had a hearing on this and approved it. Also, then July 24th, July 31st, and August 7th, a public notice was published in the Chicago Sun-Times notifying the public of the fact that this sale was pending and providing an opportunity for anyone who wanted to present a proposal to do so by the deadline of 2 p.m. on August 24th. On July 20th, Alderman Gardner issued a letter of his support for the zoning amendment. The zoning committee considered this at their July meeting, and ultimately the zoning amendment was approved by the city council at their last meeting in September. We received applications from the Copernicus Foundation and the United Brotherhood of Carpenters and Joiners, Union Local number 58 on August 24th. And that brings us today to the Chicago Plan Commission. As I mentioned earlier, then Alderman Arena gave a letter of support for this project. Alderman Gardner gave a letter of support for the project in August of 2019. Preservation Chicago in May of 2019, after the reconfiguration of the plans and discussions with the developer, gave a letter of support. And in April of 2019, Northwest Chicago Historical Society also gave their letter of support. There was no request for proposals. The negotiated sale process does not require that. One of the public speakers mentioned a request for proposal that was sent to him. What was sent to him was a copy of the public notice that appeared in the Chicago Sun-Times on 3 different occasions, according to the requirements of the Community Development Commission.
Thank you, Mr. Wheaton. I'm going to call on Commissioner Nevada to speak, to add to the details of this process, and then I'll go back to the commissioners for any follow-up questions or Commissioner Nevada.
Chairman, I just had one really quick question for Jim, if you don't mind. He was saying 2019. Was all of this in April 2019, or was it April 2020? I just wanted to clarify.
Well, which items are you referring to? Because there were a number of things that happened in 2019 as well as in 2020.
Okay,
So
well, just the recent course of events, I just wanted to clarify when you talked about the notices from the Sun-Times and just the
Oh,
recent
that
one
was
was at
2020. I'm sorry that
Yes.
if I misspoke. Those were in August and July of 2020.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. I apologize.
That's okay. Go ahead, Commissioner Nevada.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Wheaton, for walking us through the timeline. I do think it's important to note, and Mr. Wheaton highlighted this, the city did not issue an RFP for this property. We issued a public notice as ordered by the Community Development Commission to let the public or any interested parties know that there is already a proposal for the redevelopment of the property and to offer a final opportunity for interested parties to submit a proposal for consideration. As Alderman Tunney noted, the property has been vacant and in the city's inventory for nearly 10 years. Property has been available for any interested party to submit a proposal for a negotiated sale at any point during that time. We do have an established protocol with the city's Department of Planning and Development to submit requests for a negotiated sale of city property. It is an open and public application process for negotiated sales. And one thing I just want to note, because it came up several times in the public comment, 4841 Lips LLC did not ask to purchase the property for $1. They offered to purchase the property based on the appraised value. As Mr. Wheaton noted, we know that the appraised value without remediation is essentially zero, and the remediation costs are approximately the value of the property, and that is why we're recommending moving forward as is. The reason we know the amount of remediation necessary is that 4841 Lips LLC paid a professional firm with the proper safety equipment to enter the building and assess it as part of their proposal. So no one involved felt that it was safe to let a lay person into the building. We only had trained professionals do so at one point during their application process. So I just wanted to underscore those items as well.
Alderman Gardner, welcome to the Plan Commission meeting. Do you want to make a comment before I see if any commissioners have any other questions?
Sure. I just wanted to, voice some of the concerns from our community regarding this for obvious reasons. And I want to clarify the letter that we wrote was more a letter not in opposition, as opposed to saying that we are in favor of this, being the fact that it was started in 2017 with Alderman Arena. I did voice my concern to Commissioner Cox, being the fact that our city continues to have financial challenges, and yet we are selling property for $1 when we have people offering a substantial amount of money. So I suggested that we start to do a better job of considering different ways of raising money as opposed to raising property taxes for a lot of the residents in the city of Chicago. So I just wanted to clarify that. I am not opposed to this idea, but the answer that I got from Commissioner Cox was that due to the fact that this process was started back in 2017, he felt as if that there was no need, that there was better to move forward with this process. So I do want to raise the concerns and the echoes that I hear from my community, my constituents, of what our community has voiced.
Thank you so much, Alderman. I appreciate it. Go ahead, Commissioner Tunney.
Thank you, Chairman. And so as an alderman, whether it's a negotiated sale or an RFP process, even under negotiated sale, does the alderman opine on this from day one? It-
Who
What
would,
notices to the alderman when you're selling a piece of a city-owned property in their ward? Does, obviously this property's been vacant for 10 years, and I believe, and I think the Copernicus Center was there for maybe the majority of those 10 years. They're adjacent neighbor. So tell me from the city side, Mr. Wheaton, why not do the RFP? And did, at that point, Alderman Arena fully support the negotiated process? Because he was certainly alderman when it was vacant, and he certainly was alderman in 17.
I can only speak to those things that I know of my own personal experience, and I was not involved with this at the time that this process started in 2017. I do know that we have a letter of support for this process, for this project from Alderman Arena, or then Alderman Arena, that was issued in September of 2017. I do know that the Department of Planning and Development's process for negotiated sale does not require a request for proposal. But as to whether or not the aldermanic opinion comes into play, I cannot speak to that. I do not have any personal knowledge of it. And I will leave that to someone else to provide an opinion or an answer.
Well, and I'm going to leave it at this. As an alderman, you better know what's going on with city-owned property in your ward, and you better be actively involved to try to get it on the tax rolls or to get it being not or occupied. So there is no way that someone would do something in my ward without my knowledge. And that's the part of the process that I think is flawed. And I don't understand why the alderman they would have to be notified in the 44th ward. I guarantee you it wouldn't happen without alderman's support even to begin the process of negotiated sale, without some kind of affirmation from the alderman. And that's the last comment I'm going to say about it.
Okay, if I could respond to that, as I said in my testimony, I understand that from various reports, since I was not personally present, that sometime in the spring of 2019, there was a public meeting that, as I understand it, that meeting was hosted by then Alderman Arena with regard to this proposal. I meant also make a comment with regard to, bringing property back onto the tax rolls. This is a for-profit developer. This property is going to generate property tax revenue and sales tax revenue from the operation of the restaurant and brew pub. The other two applicants are nonprofit entities. And as nonprofit entities, they are exempt from paying property taxes. So in terms of the benefits to the city financially, the long-term benefit of having a for-profit entity owning and operating this piece of property far outweigh a one-time purchase price from any other entity.
So following up on Commissioner Tunney's point, it does seem that part of the process should involve notifying the alderman in that, or alderwoman in that area, in a given area, about a potential negotiated sale. So I would assume that is part of ongoing practice, and if it isn't, it ought to be. I guess my question also is about if somebody is trying to submit a proposal, and there is remediation involved. I'm thinking about the comment that was made by one of our speakers. How is it that they are able to make a reasonable assessment on their ability to do remediation if they don't have access to the building? And according to the letter that we received, they attempted to have that access. I understand Commissioner Nevada's point that about the safety, but what accommodations were made, can be made, should be made, will be made in the future to accommodate those groups or businesses that may want to submit a proposal but need access in order to do an estimate on what that remediation would cost. And I don't know if that's an answer, if a question for Mr. Wheaton or if it's a question for Ms. Nevada. Commissioner Nevada, sorry.
Well, as I noted, and I don't know if Commissioner Cox is here, but it would be helpful to hear from DPD about their process in land sales, because I think that's the important backdrop here. What I would note is that in this case, the way that they ascertain that information is just as in all of our deals that are 100% affordable housing. They pay a qualified third party to analyze the state of the environmental conditions. And that is what the applicant who we are recommending for award here did. And that is how they determined the value of the remediation necessary, and therefore the fact that that canceled out any value in the building because they were essentially equal.
And that's also how they then got access. So the nonprofit group, in order to even get an estimate, would have had to have paid for a third party to provide that estimate.
That is how, whenever we do a phase 1 environmental assessment, it is done by a third party certified firm.
Okay. And also another clarification, Mr. Wheaton, you meant, or someone mentioned that this property is adjacent to the Copernicus Center. And in looking at a map, it seemed to me that it's not immediately adjacent. There's actually a building in between, which is also for sale, in between the Copernicus Center and this property. Is that correct?
The property in question is at the north end of the block. Next to it, there is actually some empty space which is used for parking. And then next to that, to the south, is a building, the Northwestern College, which is a for-profit college that offers programs for, dental assistance and that sort of thing. And then south of that, there are parking lots. And then at the far south end of the block on Lawrence Avenue are the Copernicus Center, the former Gateway Theater, and the annex building that they acquired back in 1980 something. Oh, I'm sorry, in 2008. So there is a considerable amount of parking space in between the Copernicus Center and the Northwestern College. And then north of that, separated by a small parking area, is the firehouse.
Okay. And is the Northwestern College, do we know whether that property is for sale?
I do not know. I have heard, gossip, rumors, whatever that it might be, but I do not know for a fact.
Commissioner Tunney.
So Mr. Wheaton brought me up to another point in regards to the Copernicus Center or any other not-for-profit that redeveloped this as a restaurant site. Because I think I heard from the public comment that this Taste of Polonia Polish type of restaurant was what their ultimate use was. So the bigger question is whether or not Copernicus owns the property. If they're doing a for-profit entity on this site, they would have to pay real estate taxes. And, we have the same problem with our hospitals. So when a hospital is a not-for-profit, but if it has a medical office building component of it, that subsection of the campus pays property taxes on the for-profit medical office building. So to me, it was kind of a clarification that I'm not exactly sure that even if Copernicus owned it, if they did a for-profit restaurant, they would have to pay real estate taxes on that portion of it. Is that correct the way you see it, Mr. Wheaton?
Well, I'm not an expert on property tax law. However, I do know, based on the 2018 990 forms that were submitted by the Copernicus Center, that they listed their sources of revenue, and 81% of their annual revenue comes from income from events and the rental of their theater and the hall in the annex. So they have a considerable amount of income from those activities. And according to their application, they listed 5 property identification numbers of property they own. I checked all 5 of those. One of them is the parking lot that pays property taxes. The other 4, which include the Copernicus Center, the annex, and some of the parking areas, are all exempt from property taxes.
So thank you very much, Commissioner Tony, and Mr. Wheaton and Commissioner Nevada for your responses. I think it's when we get the public comment that we did and the passion letters, I think it's important to flesh out what those issues are and to get clarification. And again, to remind DPD the importance of keeping the alderman in the loop when there's potential negotiated sales in their districts. So with no, I'm sorry, Commissioner Lyons, go ahead.
Thanks. Just with regard to the application process, so I understand that the Copernicus submitted an application or a proposal on August 24th. And can you speak to why they were denied, why their application was rejected?
Okay. The public notice mentioned some specific items that needed to be included. One of those was a timetable for the project, the evidence of the financial capacity, and a few other things. We rejected their application.
Can I just stop you right
because,
there, real quickly? I'm sorry, Mr. Wheaton. I'm sorry for interrupting you, but on the financial capacity, one of the things that the speakers said is that they provided evidence of their ability to raise funds. Is that the kind of financial capacity you're looking for? Can you be specific about the financial capacity you're looking for and whether or not the ability to raise funds for their center would meet the criteria?
well, they did not submit evidence of their ability to raise funds. They submitted a copy of their 2018 990, showed the bulk of their income came from hosting events and holding events in their facilities. That 2018 990 also showed that their net revenue for the year was approximately $7,700. In terms of then this is 2-year-old information. So they did not provide any evidence that they have cash on hand to affect the sale or to pay for the remediation, which in their press conference the other day, they mentioned that they were going to do. We don't have any current financial information from them other than a 2-year-old 990. So that did not provide us with evidence of their financial capacity. And quite honestly, given the impact of the pandemic this year on public events and festivals, et cetera, it certainly calls into question whether or not that 80% of their budget that comes from hosting public events and holding the festival would in fact occur this year.
So you weren't looking for pro formas or anything like that in the
Well, they gave us a listing of the rents that they would charge for the apartments and a fairly bare bones construction budget or project budget, which did not include the purchase price in that amount. They also had a line item for both general conditions and remediation of $85,000, which represents about 6% of the total construction cost. General conditions typically in a construction project are anywhere from 5 to 10% of the total project cost. So they did not provide that. They did not provide a timetable. I know in their letter to the commission, they stated that the application did not ask for that. That is correct. The application form with DPD does not ask for that. However, the public notice very specifically said, provide a project timetable.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Commissioner Lyons?
It does. I do have a follow-up question if that's okay.
Go ahead.
Just generally look like, I realize, there's a lot that goes into the these negotiated sales. and, you know, weighing sort of what is the best and highest use of the property that is city owned, and what, you know, what value is it going to bring, sort of looking holistically. I noticed that in one of the other properties that we're looking at today, on Monticello, for example, it appears to be that all of those properties are going to be affordable, and put into the Chicago Community Land Trust. Is there any commitments on affordability for the current, the proposal on deck that we're looking at this current property on Lips?
The rents that are projected for this project are affordable for households below 120% of the area median income, which is also one of the characteristics of sales for sale properties that would be placed into the Chicago Community Land Trust. These will be rental units, so they will not be part of the land trust, but the income eligibility is similar to what goes for sale properties that are subject to the Affordable Requirements Ordinance and the land trust.
Thank you. With no further questions or comments, I am looking for a motion on approval items number 1 and 2 under the negotiated sale, as well as item 3 under the disposition heading.
Madam Chairwoman, I just want to offer too, if necessary, from the DPD process, Shannon Kinsler, our Deputy Commissioner, has joined, and if there are specific questions to DPD, she will be available to answer. And then I also wanted to mention Commissioner Cox is having some technical difficulty with speaking, so if we need his votes, you might have to look towards his camera for a thumbs up or thumbs down for the meeting. He's been texting, he's having difficulty speaking. He can hear, but he can't speak.
Okay. Thank you very much. Do we have any questions for the DPD staff that's here? All right, so I'm not seeing any.
Chairman, quick question.
Hey, Commissioner.
This is Commissioner Tunney. Is for DPD, is this property orange or landmarked or potential landmarked? It seems like preservation was involved with this. So what is the status of the property? Is it landmarked or orange?
This is an old firehouse.
Is it an orange rated building, or is it going to be landmarked?
If I may answer that, this is Jim Wheaton. That question came up at the design review meeting internally with the Department of Planning and Development and the Department of Housing, and it is not an orange rated or historically noted building. The developer has agreed to restore as much of the exterior as possible, but it is not a historic property now.
Is the expectation, given that the developer has said they're willing to do it, is that expression in writing as part of the sale? Did they indicate, do we have that in writing that they will do as much as they can to restore the original facade?
Well, we don't have a contract yet, since they have not actually acquired it. Before a sale is completed, a redevelopment agreement and deed will be prepared, and there will be, conditions can be added to that. So, I mean, this is something that the developer has expressed in his meetings with Preservation Chicago Group and the Northwest Chicago Historical Society has stated this several times. He stated it to me, but we don't have anything in writing because we do not have an agreement yet.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Lyons, I see your hand. Is it still, are you still wanting to say something?
I had a question on the process. Are we voting on all of the items, or are we?
Yeah, I'm gonna separate it out. I'm gonna separate it out so that we vote just separately on the firehouse. Thank you for that suggestion. Go ahead, is that Mr. Gaynor?
It's Alderman Burke.
Hello, Alderman, how are you?
Good, thank you. I apologize. I was here to talk on the Park District matter on the agenda, but I simply can't remain any longer. But would the record reflect that I was strongly in favor of this project and congratulate Superintendent Kelly and the staff at the Park District for a very important project that is going to be life-changing for our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your patience, and so noted. we're looking forward to having that item come before us because agreed, it's a very exciting project, and I think it will be quite an amenity for the people in those, not only in the Brighton Park area, but the surrounding neighborhoods of Gage Park and the edge of back of the yard. So we look forward to that item coming before us, and we have noted your support of that project. So thank you very much for being here. Thank you. Back now then to the, which number is this one on the disposition at Anoa?
This will be item C2, so we can vote on that separately, and then the remainder can be voted on. C1 and C3 can have a separate roll call.
All right, what if should I do C2 first or 1 and 3 first?
You can do that, that would be fine.
Let me do 1 and 3, and then I'll pull out number 2. Okay, so can I have a motion for approval on items 1 and 3?
So moved by Commissioner Tunney.
And seconded by?
Alderman Webb.
Commissioner Shaw.
Commissioner Shaw. But I heard a voice getting in there beforehand. Who was that?
This is Alderman Maldonado. I have something to say about item number 3.
Oh, go ahead, please do.
Thank you. Stand in full support on the consideration of this lot. This is a long time coming for the 26th ward. I think it is the perfect public policy to use public land or city-owned lots to build affordable housing for sale. So this is the second phase that we are about to start with an additional 6 single families coming into the 26th ward, and I believe that we have about 12 other lots that will be forthcoming in the near future, I hope. So thank you, Madam Chairman and Chairwoman, and for the support, and I'll be looking forward for the vote on this side. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alderman. So I heard a first by Commissioner Tunney and a second by Commissioner Shaw. Again, I have to do the roll call vote. We're voting on item C1 and C3. C3 is the item on which Alderman Maldonado just spoke. So Commissioner Biaggi.
Yes.
Commissioner Brumfeld.
Yes.
Commissioner Burnett. Commissioner Cordova is a yes. Commissioner Cox, actually put your hand up. I can see that easier. I'm not seeing the hand.
His thumb is up.
Commissioner Flores. Oh, there it is. Okay, it came up. Commissioner Flores.
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly.
Yes.
Lyons.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes.
Nevada.
Yes.
Osterman, has he joined us? Commissioner Reyes.
Yes.
Commissioner Shaw.
Yes.
Commissioner Tunney.
Yes.
Commissioner Villegas. And Commissioner Villegas.
Yes.
And Commissioner Wegesbach.
Yes.
The motion passes. Now, can I get a motion on item C2? This is the firehouse. This is one we just had the lengthy discussion on. Can I get a motion on this one way or the other?
So moved. Commissioner Navarra.
Commissioner Nevada moves.
Second by Commissioner Flores.
Seconded by Commissioner Flores. Okay, let me do the roll call vote again on that one. Commissioner Biaggi.
Yes.
Commissioner Brumfeld. Commissioner Burnett.
Yes.
Commissioner Cordova is a yes. Commissioner Cox is a yes. Commissioner Flores.
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly.
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons.
No.
Commissioner Moore.
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy.
Yes.
Commissioner Nevada.
Yes.
Commissioner Reyes.
Yes.
Commissioner Shaw.
Yes.
Commissioner Tunney.
Let me just make sure I'm not on the thing.
Commissioner Tunney. Commissioner Villegas.
No.
And Commissioner Wegesbach.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay, great. I'm glad we separated that vote out. All right, the motion passes. So now, matters to be heard in accordance. And again, I want to thank the folks in the Copernicus Center and in Jefferson Park for coming here today and giving us the opportunity to discuss this further. Now we will move on to the public hearing presentation for matters submitted in accordance with the Lake Michigan and Chicago Lakefront Protection Ordinance and or the Chicago Zoning Ordinance. As a reminder, item D1 has been deferred. So the first item today is listed as D2 on your agenda and is proposed Lake Michigan and Chicago Lakefront Protection Ordinance application submitted by 2300 Clark Street Development LLC for the property generally located at 2317 North Clark Street. The property is zone B1-3 and is within the private use zone of the Lake Michigan and Chicago Lakefront Protection District. The applicant is proposing to construct a 4-story mixed-use building with 2,350 square foot of retail, 35 dwelling units, and 24 accessory vehicular parking stalls. Paul Reese will provide the context overview, and the applicant will present their proposal in their 20-minute context.
Madam Chair, this is tech support. Can I just take 1 second and ask Commissioner Cox if he is indeed the one on the phone dialing in from 1199?
Yes, he's saying he is.
So I'm going to allow you to talk, Commissioner, so that you can press *6 to unmute yourself, and then, or is it 1148 now? Yes. Okay.
Thank you so much. I appreciate. Okay, Mr. Reese, the slides are up and you're ready to go.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. For the record, my name is Paul Reese with the Department of Planning and Development. The applicant, 2300 Clark Development LLC, and their development team appear here today for request approval of a Lakefront Protection Ordinance application to develop the site at 2317 North Clark with a 35-unit, 4-story building with 2,350 square feet of retail and on-site parking for 28 vehicles. The subject site is located in the North Planning Region and in the Lincoln Park community area in the 43rd Ward. The Lincoln Park community is a vibrant lakefront community where the total population is roughly 70,000 people. 44% of the residents are between 20 and 34 years of age. The median household income is approximately $99,000, and over 46% of the residents use transit to commute to work. The site is on the east side of Clark Street between Fullerton and Belden. The site is situated on a very active mixed-use commercial corridor with retail, dining, and residential uses. It's served by numerous CTA bus routes and is 2 blocks west of Lakeshore Drive. The zoning is currently B1-3 and no changes are proposed, so it will remain B1-3 zoning. The site is in close proximity to the Lincoln Park Zoo, the Note Bart Nature Museum, and other lakefront amenities. At this point, I would like to turn the presentation over to the project architect, Bill Hornoff, who will walk through the development specifics and explain their proposal.
Can you hear me? Thank you, Paul. So as Paul mentioned, this is a view looking south down Clark Avenue. This is a 4-story building, commercial on the first floor, about 2,500 square feet of retail space, and then 35 dwelling units varying from 1 bedrooms to 3 bedrooms on floors 2, 3, and 4. There's enclosed parking towards the rear. This is an odd site in that it comes with a 10-foot easement, which prevents us from occupying that. You can sort of see we're looking straight down this easement that's shared with the neighboring north building. This is how we access the enclosed parking and bike storage in the garage itself. This would be a typical context of the street. The streets on both sides of Clark is a mix of certainly residential, some traditional, and some contemporary. Our building fits into the latter. So this is an elevation at our initial submittal. Through the process of submitting to Lakefront Protection, it was asked of us to open up the corner for two aspects, to open up, make it more pedestrian friendly. And again, this is the corner down the easement face on the north side of the building. CDOT had also asked that we add more glass to minimize any pedestrian vehicular concerns. And this is the change we just recently had made to the project. Again, it's a four-story building. There will be an occupiable roof deck in the middle portion of it, as you can see. The one thing towards the back, we have set the building off the back. We worked with the adjacent neighbors on a rear setback that was amenable to them. Typical floor plan, and then the enclosed parking. Because the nature, both two things, the geometry of the site and the fact that we are unable to occupy 10 feet of this along its length, we asked for relief in the number of parking spaces. The elevation. This elevation, as you saw in the renderings, is a combination of metal panel and brick and glass, of course. The retail elevation meets the pedestrian street requirements, and then some. Rear elevation of the building, that is a section through the enclosed parking. You can see it's a one-story structure with terraces above for those apartments overlooking it. And then building section studies of the face of the building that fronts Clark Street. And then our material studies. As you can see, there's a mixed colored brick, two colors of metal panel, and then we have some glass railings. I hope you heard all that, by the way.
Yes, we're hearing everything.
Okay.
Thank you. Are we waiting for Paul?
Sorry, thanks, I was still muted. So the Department of Planning and Development has reviewed the project materials submitted by the applicant and concluded that this proposal is in compliance with the applicable policies of the Lakefront of Chicago and the purposes of the Lake Michigan and Chicago Lakefront Protection Ordinance as they apply to the development in the private use zone. Specifically, as I've highlighted here, policy 8 to increase the personal safety, policy 10 to ensure a harmonious relationship between the lakeshore parks and the community edge, and policy 14 to coordinate all public and private development. To ensure that the proposed development of the subject property will have minimal impact on the surrounding neighborhood, the project was sent to several city agencies for review. As a result of these reviews, it has been determined that the public infrastructure and city services will be adequate to service the proposed development, and the project will comply with the requirements for access in the case of fire or other emergencies. The proposed project was presented and approved at the Zoning Board of Appeals to reduce the rear setback, as mentioned, reduce the parking requirement, and to waive the loading zone requirement. The proposed project has also been reviewed by the Mayor's Office of People with Disabilities and the Department of Transportation. All requested changes have been made. Copies of this application have been circulated to other city departments and agencies, and no comments have been received which have not been addressed. Please refer to my staff report for further details on this project and the plans identified today. Based on foregoing, it is the recommendation of the Department of Planning and Development that this application, being in conformance with the provisions of the Lake Michigan and Chicago Lakefront Protection Ordinance, be approved, subject to the compliance with the site plans and building elevations presented before you today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reese. Do I have any questions for from the commissioners? Commissioner Biaggi.
I can't, there we go, sorry. So first, thank you for adding that glass. I just wanted to point out, certainly there's only so much that we could do with the building right up against the alley. So we appreciate that addition to the program as well. And then also, you know, we certainly understand there are limitations perhaps of space with the parking area and the bike parking. We encourage actually more bike parking. If that's possible here, please consider that. We're so often indexing the amount of bike parking relative to cars, but obviously with units and multiple bikes, that's the kind of thing that we'd like to see. So I encourage you to stretch that, but appreciate the response on the glass.
Thank you.
Seeing no other questions from commissioners, Alderman Smith. I'm sorry, before I go to Alderman Smith, Commissioner Moore.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I just have a question about the apartment dwellings. Can somebody speak a little more to the unit sizes and costs?
Well, I can help with the unit mix and type. The cost, I think, is probably something, I don't know if ownership is here, but on average, as I said, there are 35 dwelling units. They run between 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and 3 bedrooms. On average, overall, the whole building is about 780 square feet on average. So of course, some units are going to be larger and others going to be smaller. I think that the 1 bedrooms are in the 600 square foot range, and the 3 bedrooms are in excess of 1,200 square feet, I believe. Again, I can't speak to what the value of these apartments are, though.
Is there somebody on the team that can? You're unmuted, I think, if you want to speak to this.
This is Nick Fatikas, I'm the project attorney.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Fatikas.
Thank you very much. And again, the unit ranges and the rent ranges will obviously be set by the market conditions. We're anticipating rents somewhere between $1,800 and about $2,800 or $2,900 on the high end. And again, that's based on our projections of the marketplace today, subject to, of course, the actual market conditions when the building gets delivered. But those were the general ranges that we were working with in presenting this both to the Alderman's office and then initially the Zoning Board of Appeals earlier this year.
Thank you. That answer your question, Commissioner Moore?
It does. I'm just wondering about the affordability element. I didn't hear anything about that. So is that considered affordable for that neighborhood? Or
There's no, again, Nicholas Fatikas on behalf of ownership. There's no affordable component with this program. The B1-3 zoning district supported, with the variations, of course, supported the development. So there was no affordable requirement for this project. We did try to provide a bit of a range so that there was a mix of unit sizes to give a few different housing options to potential tenants, but there's no technical affordable component. The reason we're before the Plan Commission is for consideration under the Lakefront Protection Ordinance.
Thank you.
Although even when you come before us with Lakefront, or when not necessarily you, but when items come before us, there's still maybe an affordable housing piece to that. Okay, seeing no further questions from commissioners, do I have a motion on the proposed Lake Michigan and Chicago Lake Protection Ordinance submitted by 2300 Clark Street Development LLC for the property generally located at 2317 North Clark Street, finding that it meets the requirements for approval?
Moved, Commissioner Shaw.
Moved by Commissioner Shaw, seconded by,
Commissioner Tunney.
thank you, Commissioner Tunney. Again, I must do the roll call vote. Commissioner Biaggi,
Yes.
Commissioner Brumfeld,
Yes.
Commissioner Burnett,
Yes.
Commissioner Cordova, yes. Commissioner Cox,
Yes. Can I be heard now?
you can be here. Commissioner Flores,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
No.
Commissioner Murphy, Commissioner Novada,
Yes.
Commissioner Reyes,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw. I assume is a yes. Commissioner Tunney,
Yes.
Commissioner Villegas, and Commissioner Wegesbach.
Yes.
Okay,
And Commissioner Shazzy, yes, sorry, I couldn't unmute.
thank you. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda listed as D3 is proposed plan development submitted by the Chicago Park District for the property generally located at 1400 4858 Southwestern Avenue and 2401-2559 West 48th Street. The site is currently zoned M2-2 Light Industry District and C1-2 Neighborhood Commercial District. The applicant is proposing to rezone the site to POS-1 Parks and Open Space District and then to a planned development. The applicant proposes the construction of a two-story, 88,000 square feet new Park District headquarters and conjoined field house building, artificial turf fields, playground areas, and open space with parking for approximately 200 vehicles for Park District employees and park patrons. This is in the 14th Ward. John Malloy will provide the context overview, and the applicant will then present the proposal.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning, members of the Plan Commission. For the record, I am John Malloy with the Department of Planning and Development. The subject 17-acre parcel is located at the southwest corner of West 48th Street and Southwestern Avenue in the Southwest region. The Brighton Park community, the Stevenson-Brighton-Tiff District, and the 14th Ward. The site is bounded by West 48th Street on the north, Western Avenue on the east, the CTA Orange Line tracks on the south, and the Rockwell on the west. I'm joined today with the development team, including Heather Gleason with the Park District, attorney Jack George and his team of Ackerman LLP, John Ronan of John Ronan Architects, and Ernest Wong of Site Design Group. As you can see, the project is located in the Brighton Park neighborhood. It's immediately adjacent to the Back of the Yards neighborhood, one of the city's best southwest neighborhoods. And the total population is roughly 45,000 square feet. I'm sorry, 45,000 people. 83% of them, of those folks are Hispanic or Latino. 44.7% of the households include 4 people or more. About 32% of the residents are 19 years of age or younger. And the median household income is $41,176. The location is a former industrial parcel. I believe it was a steel company in its most recent use, which has been torn down. The neighborhood is home to a lot of industrial properties to the west in the Brighton Industrial Corridor. And it also includes the large Santa Fe Railroad's Corwith Yards at about 40th and Kedzie. Again, as the chairwoman mentioned, the site is zoned M2-2 and C1-2. Adjacent zoning uses include M2-2, M2-3, C1-2, RS3, residential to the north mainly, B3-1 and RM 4.5. Brighton Park is one of the top community areas in the city in need of open space. I'll turn this presentation over to Heather Gleason from the Park District. Thank you.
Good morning, commissioners. My name is Heather Gleason. As John mentioned, I'm the Director of Planning and Development for the Chicago Park District, and I will take you through the project timeline and our community outreach. So we filed our plan development application on April 7th of 2020, but even before that, we had done a fair amount of community outreach. We first met with Alderman Burke and Alderman Lopez to explain the overview and scope of the project. And then in early spring 2020, we met with representatives from the Brighton Park Neighborhood Council and the Back of the Yards Council. We also met with the Brighton Park Neighborhood Network Coalition on March 16th, 2020. Unfortunately, our first community meeting, the large one, planned for the end of March 2020, was canceled due to COVID-19 to the shelter-in-place order. So we needed to get creative in reaching out to our community since we could not do in-person meetings this spring. So we set up a separate website for Park 596, and then in early April, we posted a narrated project presentation online. The website offered a narration in English and a narration in Spanish that residents could choose. In fact, all of our communications regarding meetings, notices, as well as online and website resources were all provided in both English and Spanish translations. We also mailed letters to all residents within the notice boundary in both English and Spanish, and provided English and Spanish translation of flyers around the neighborhood to make sure people knew about our public meeting. On August 19th, 2020, we hosted a virtual community meeting that was presented in both English and Spanish. We also streamed the meeting over the Park District's YouTube channel to make it as accessible as possible. We had about 70 participants dial into that meeting. We also sent a community follow-up communication on September 10th, 2020, answering several of the questions that the community asked us at our August 19th meeting. We plan to go back to the community this fall with further updates about the project and keep them informed as we go. The updates that we made to the plan based on some of the community feedback that we heard included adding a traffic signal and pedestrian crossing. At 48th Place, there's a senior center across the street from us on Western, and many residents were concerned about how seniors would get to our site, and so that was one of the things that we added. And also, the community was concerned about activities for teens, and so we took a look at that in the field house, and we added a teen center into the proposed field house. Next slide, please. So we also want to talk to you a little bit about how the Park District selected this site. In 2001, the Chicago Park District moved its headquarters from Soldier Field to its current home in Streeterville. Since that time, ownership of the building that we're in at 541 North Fairbanks has transitioned, compelling us to look for a new home for our administrative offices. We looked at 20 different locations for consideration, including sites in the Loop and neighborhoods across Chicago. So after evaluating all 20 sites, we came up with 4 finalist sites that were selected, 48th and Western, that we're obviously bringing you today. We looked at the Cook County building in the Loop, another project at 240 North Ashland on the near west side, and 3052 West Grand in Humboldt Park. After a long evaluation period, we selected 48th and Western as our site. We could have the next slide, please. So the Park District selected this former industrial site at 48th and Western as the site for our new headquarters for a number of reasons. First and foremost, the development of the site will provide significant transformative value to the Brighton Park community. The large 17-acre site makes it possible for us to provide significant indoor and outdoor recreational opportunities and assets for people of all ages and abilities. When complete, Park 596 will consist of 3 interrelated components: a new headquarters building for the Park District, and then a field house attached to it with a new community park and outdoor space. We also did significant environmental remediation on the site, and it's still well underway. The Park District has enrolled this site in the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency's site remediation program. To fulfill the requirements of the IEPA, the Park District has completed all required on-site remediation work. And then the next step will be, as part of the development of the project, the Park District will install an engineered barrier as part of the park construction, ensuring that the site is safe for community use. And with that, I will turn the presentation over to Jack George from Ackerman. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks so very much, Heather. Some of what I'll talk about has already been discussed by John and Heather, but the slide that you have in front of you shows the site in question, and it's bounded by Western Avenue to the east of 48th Street to the north, the orange line to the south, and across Rockwell Street to the west is the James Shields Middle School. Park 596 is located along the Chicago and Boulevard system. It's a network of major parks are connected by green boulevards. The next slide, please. This slide also gives some site context. It shows and one of the key reasons why DPD chose this site for its headquarters is its proximity to Western Avenue Orange Line and its direct access to major bus routes along Western Avenue, which is the transit served location route. Can you go to the next slide, please? This is again the same slide we're talking about. Again, it shows the site in question. Thanks very much. And this is the one I just talked about, which shows where the site is and the different boundaries, and showing Western Avenue to the east and to the north is 48th Street. That James Shields School has been there, and it's just to the west of that. That's west of us. This site here is just an overall site context site. The different numbers refer to the photographs that are depicted alongside of it. And it shows that it's really a vacant site. It's, as John said, it's a 17-acre site. It's a vacant site. It previously had used as a warehouse area, and that's going to be remediated. And so this is the site that we're talking about. The next slide, please. This site here shows the zoning in site context, and it shows that the site is currently has different types of zoning. It has the M2-2, it's got a C1-2, and those aren't proper zoning for this type of facility. So what we're doing is we're changing the zoning to POS-1, and then we're creating a planned development. This site is going to be a required community center, and it's going to be in excess of 2 acres, and therefore it's mandatory to have a planned development for this project. This last slide that I'll talk about is the right-of-way adjustment map, and it shows that the site, again, it shows the site in question and shows the boundaries of the site, and it also shows that there are two platted, an alley and a street, both of which aren't there, but since they were platted, they have to be vacated, and that's what this shows. The next slide, please. And then this last one shows the boundaries of the PD map, and it shows the site in question, and it shows the net site area of having 758,722 square feet. That shows the amount of area of public right-of-way at 125,000, and then it shows the gross site area of 884,487. And then it shows the maximum FAR of just a little under 0.111704. And so that's that. And so I would just like to turn it over now to John Ronan, the architect, who will go through and describe in detail now this particular development. Thank you. John?
Thanks, Jack. For the record, my name is John Ronan. I'm founding principal of John Ronan Architects in Chicago. So this is the proposed site plan. The design concept for the park references the Chicago Park and Boulevard system with a continuous park pathway that widens out periodically into courtyards and plazas. Pedestrians enter the site from one of 5 plazas on the north and east sides of this park. The pathway that connects these plazas meanders through the park. Inside of this path are recreation areas, 2 artificial turf fields for soccer, football, and lacrosse, and a grand lawn surrounded by trees. North of the grand lawn are 3 recreation areas for children, a playground, a spray pool, and a nature play area. Outside of the pathway is a natural landscape of meadow and grasses with looping walking paths. Like many historic CPD field houses, the new building is set into the park, organizing the surrounding park landscape into programmatic zones. The park pathway extends through the building, separating it into field house and headquarters on the ground level. Plazas were created on the east and south side of the building to clearly demarcate main entry of the building on the east and the fieldhouse entry from the drop-off and parking lot on the south. Fieldhouse signage was added at the walkway approaches to the building on both the north and south sides. The design includes monument signage on Western Avenue to clearly denote the headquarters entrance. In addition, brick wall extensions with fieldhouse signage have been added to clearly denote the fieldhouse entrances on the north and the south side of the building. The main public entrance of the headquarters is accessed via the main entry plaza on Western Avenue, which includes signage reading Chicago Park District Headquarters. Park District staff members can enter the building through a staff entrance accessed through the south courtyard. Park 596 showcases a variety of landscape types, including a meadow with a nature garden and a grand lawn. The plant palette includes a variety of shade trees, ornamental trees, shrubs, perennials, and grasses. And the building's green roof includes over 30 varieties of plants. Next slide, please. The site location provides great value to the Park District as both a location of the administrative headquarters and as a new site for recreational programming. There's direct access to public transportation, including the Western Avenue Orange Line station, and access via CTA bus, which provides great value to CPD employees commuting to work. The new park development will include improvements within the public right-of-way to improve pedestrian access to the site, such as a new traffic signal and crosswalk at Western Avenue and 48th Place, as well as crosswalk improvements along 48th Street between Rockwell and Western. 204 parking spaces are provided on site for park fieldhouse patrons and CPD employees. The parking vehicular use area is strategically positioned on the south side of the site next to the Orange Line embankment to reduce visual impact. Bicycle parking is included at the north and south entrances of the field house. Otherwise, bike parking is evenly distributed throughout the site, adjacent to the spectator seating near Rockwell Street, adjacent to the entry plaza at Campbell and 48. Over 100 bike parking spaces are currently planned for the site, and bike racks will not be installed within the public way. Next slide, please. This is a view of the park entrance from Western Avenue looking towards the headquarters building with the meadow in the foreground. Next slide, please. This is a view of the site from the Orange Line platform. Next slide. This is the Hardscape Plaza on the east side of the building looking towards the front entrance of the headquarters. Next slide. This is a view of the pathway that leads to the fieldhouse entrance and interior courtyards beyond. At night, the building takes on a lantern-like quality. There will be pathway and security lighting throughout the park for public safety. Next slide. The building is 2 stories and circular in plan, an iconic shape befitting an important civic institution, with a park pathway extending through it to delineate the field house from the headquarters on the ground level. Along this path are 2 open-air courtyards, which bring light and air into the center of the building and create outdoor meeting, recreation, and relaxation space for staff and field house visitors. The field house, approximately 19,000 square feet, includes a gymnasium with a full-size basketball court, club rooms, and fitness rooms. A club terrace overlooking the grand lawn is also accessible from the field house for use by the public. The headquarters is designed to make the staff feel like they're working in a park. The office space of approximately 56,000 square feet is organized in alternating bands of enclosed rooms for offices and meeting rooms and large open office areas to support collaboration and provide for future flexibility. The building design features several cost and functional strategies. The field house can be accessed from the headquarters without going outside. The space-efficient plan minimizes the amount of exterior envelope, which is a cost benefit. An economical and straightforward structure of masonry-bearing walls and bar joists, a unitized exterior envelope for economical cost and quality, being less prone to air and water leakage. The exterior wall can be cleaned from grade without expensive equipment. Masonry walls require minimal maintenance at all. Continuous roof surface with perimeter parapet is easier to install and less prone to leaks and drainage issues over time. Next slide. On the lower right is a view of one of the 2 internal courtyards of the building. The walls of these courtyards are made from reclaimed Chicago common brick to root the design in the local building culture. Next slide. This is a view of the courtyard at night. The field house has 2 fitness rooms, both with courtyard views. Next slide. This is the gymnasium with its Chicago common brick walls and built-in grandstand. The gym padding features historic photos from the Park District Archive. Next slide. This is a view of the club rooms and their outdoor adjoining terrace. This is the main lobby of the headquarters building with the Orange Line train and platform in the background. The multi-purpose boardroom of the headquarters building can be used for seminars and training when not being used for board meetings. The second floor offices extend over the field house and have views into the gym below. An outdoor event space on this level faces west with views of the Great Lawn and playing fields. This is a view of that covered event terrace with the playing fields beyond. The open office space has a loft-like character with walls of reclaimed Chicago brick. This is the break room. It offers views down into the gym on one side and into the courtyard on the other. The building's green roof has more than 30 varieties of plants. Next slide. These are the elevations and sections. The building materials were selected for their constructability, durability, and ease of maintenance. The building structure is comprised of a straightforward masonry bearing walls and bar joist construction, and wrapped in an economical unitized curtain wall construction. An aluminum sunscreen shields the building from direct sunlight and is specified in an anodized aluminum finish for ease of maintenance. And we can breeze through these slides. Next slide. This slide shows cutaway views of the exterior walls of the building. On the left is the perimeter glazed wall with aluminum sunscreen. In the center is the reclaimed masonry wall of the courtyard with ivy growing up it. And on the right is one of the glazed courtyard walls, which has a bird-friendly glazing pattern to warn incoming birds. Next slide. So several of the building spaces can be rented out for community use. And this includes the headquarters boardroom on the upper right. And then in the field house, the gymnasium, fitness room, teen center, and club rooms can also be rented out by the public. On the second floor, the covered event terrace can be rented out, as mentioned previously. And outside, the grand lawn and playing fields can be rented out by the community for gatherings and events and competitions. This is an aerial view of the project looking northeast with the surrounding community and the downtown beyond. Now I'll turn it over to Ernie Wong from Site Design Group, who will tell us more about the playground areas.
Thanks so much, John. For the record, my name is Ernie Wong. I'm the founding principal, one of the founding principals of Site Design Group here in Chicago. We are really super excited about the opportunities of this entire project, not only the athletic fields and the different habitats, I guess, of surrounding the building. But the playgrounds are really especially interesting. Really looking forward to that. Located north of the Great Lawn, the play area is divided into 4 main components: an entry plaza and fountain, a traditional playground, natural play area, and a sculptural water feature. Next slide, please. These play spaces serve as an extension of the surrounding recreational areas, encouraging children to move between the lawn, over small hills, through trees, and between features with ease. Next slide, please. The entry plaza welcomes you into the site from the north with a series of pools that fill and drain with water-activated paddles. Sculptural elements and seating surround the fountain. South of the entry plaza, a large traditional playground focuses on climbing, motion, and accessibility through topographical features and custom design elements. This dynamic play space is unlike anything else in Chicago. The easternmost play feature is the natural play area, which you see here, which includes creative nature-based play elements to encourage interaction and exploration with nature. This space features a series of freeform build areas, climbing elements, and block features that mimic the city skyline. Vegetation, topography, and unique custom elements such as the upside-down trees make this a unique play space for children. And with that, and we've done projects like this. The Garfield Park project would be a good example of that. And I'll turn this back over to Jack George.
Thanks very much. This slide here is just the sustainable matrix, and it shows on here the different features we're taking credit for on a sustainable features. And plan development, you're required to have 100 points. In this case here, we have 115 points under the sustainable matrix. And so we meet in and exceeding what's required by the city of Chicago. The next slide, please. This last slide really just talks about the economic and community benefits. And as with all plan developments, and this in particular, we are going to be, have our goal as 26% MBE and 6% WBE. And we're also encouraged to hire 50% local residents as part of this project, with a priority in hiring from the predetermined project area. The Park District estimates that the project could generate over 350 construction jobs. Now back to you, John.
Thanks, Jack. So the Department of Planning and Development has reviewed the material submitted and recommends that the proposed zoning change to plan development would be appropriate for the following reasons. The proposed park provides cultural and recreational opportunities, preserve natural and scenic areas, protects natural resources, and offer refuge from the built urban environment. The proposed park provides cultural and recreational opportunities, preserves natural and scenic areas again, and I think it's duplicate. And then the additional reasons, if you want, I'll go through them or leave it up for a moment. Thank you.
Commissioners, do I have any questions or comments?
Madam Chair, when it's appropriate, I'd certainly like to put an exclamation on this point.
You know, I just saw Commissioner Flores' hands go up, but let me call on you, Commissioner Kelly. Go ahead.
All right.
All
right, so I'm going to read a prepared statement, guys. For the record, I'm Mike Kelly. I'm the General Superintendent and CEO of the Chicago Park District. As the Park District is the applicant, of course, on this project, I've recused myself from voting on this matter, but I do want to share my enthusiasm, and I want to speak to all of you about the importance of this project for the future of the Park District, the city, our neighbors in Brighton Park, Gage Park, and Back of the Yards communities. So as we touched on, this was once a vital manufacturing and transportation hub in Chicago, and the Southwest Side communities are now home to a young, vibrant population facing the usual urban challenges we have, which is a need for more recreational facilities and urban green spaces to match the interests of our residents. This new development will not only address those challenges and be home to the Park District, but it also serves as a home away from home for residents near and far of all ages and interests. We certainly understand the value of green spaces, especially during these unprecedented times, don't we? More than ever, there is a potential in relocating to the site at 48th and Western. It's an investment in our environmental remediation, and it's a transformation from a vacant parcel to a viable urban green space. Neighboring La Vita Park is a successful example of how we used an we took an unused brownfield and rehabilitated it and transformed it into a safe haven for kids and families to enjoy. We imagine healthy neighborhoods as intricate hubs of activities with multiple alternatives for active recreation and enrichment. So with this acquisition of this 17-acre site, we are taking leaps toward making that portrait a reality for the Southwest Side. Students from James Shields Middle School and other nearby schools that currently use Kelly Park or have to travel to Back of the Yards to play at Cornell Square Park will surely make use of the multiple artificial turf fields and the spray features. Seniors as well will, who live in the independent living facility across Western will also find respite on the new park benches and enjoy access to local affordable fitness centers. And the local L and the public transit users will unwind as they stroll through our green spaces and catch a cultural performance or a movie. We knew in order to meet our goal of every person in every neighborhood across Chicago to have access to a park within a 10-minute walk from their homes, we needed to grow our presence in this community. And that was a big reason why we chose Brighton Park. Also, its close proximity of the site to the main arteries of transportation like the CTAL, Western Avenue, Archer Avenue, and even I-55 will provide access to much needed resources and avenues for recreation for Brighton Park residents and their surrounding neighbors. It's already an active community, as we know, and this parkland is a dream come true. So in addition to our office space, as we've mentioned several times, the proposed 17-acre site offers a unique opportunity for the Park District to own rather than lease administrative office space, while also increasing our access to park space in Brighton Park. We originally had 110,000 square feet of space in Northwestern Hospital Building. We sold that in 2015 for $22.5 million. And in turn, we negotiated a 3-year rent-free term, which realized a savings in excess of $3 million. And we sold that space when the market was in a downturn. I'm very proud of that. And despite paying below market rent and the city and the Park District, we've been searching, as we mentioned, for a new location that would be both beneficial to the community and the Park District. And thanks to John Ronan and his brilliant team, we needed to maximize the efficiencies of owning this headquarters while making a meaningful investment in the neighborhood in need of open space. So with those objectives in mind, we purchased this $8.65 million site with our help from the city. Thank you to planning as our partner via TIF funding, and it was the equivalent of $11 per square foot. And look, we plan on putting our roots down on the southwest side and making this investment. This project, as we mentioned, will create 350 construction jobs, of which at least half would employ Chicago residents. And we are excited to invest in the vibrancy of the 47th Street and Western Avenue commercial corridors. So again, I want to thank Heather. I want to thank everybody at the Park District on my team. I want to thank John Ronan, John Malloy, Jack George, Ernie. Thank you all. If it's not coming across, I'm incredibly excited. This is an ambitious project. I cannot thank the mayor enough, Mayor Lightfoot, who supported us on this. She certainly understands the valuable connection between the presence of green spaces in an urban setting and healthy communities. And last but not least, I want to thank the 14th Ward Alderman. I want to thank Ed Burke, and I want to thank the 15th Ward Alderman, Ray Lopez, who've been incredibly supportive of this throughout. So we look forward to being your residents down there. And, I thank you in advance for your support on this, and hopefully we can bring this project to fruition very soon. So thank you, Madam Chair, for the time, and I will turn it back over to you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Commissioner Flores.
Hi, good morning. I just want to echo the importance of this project and how happy it makes me to see it, take over this vacant land. I actually attended Shields as a child for a couple years, and I grew up not too far from this intersection. I think it's going to be a great project. I think there's so many features that will make it special. I love the feature of the courtyard wall with the ivy and just all the playground areas and the areas for the kids, as well as the amenities for the employees of the headquarters. I think it's just a great rounded project. My comment is more about the collaborations and the representation of the community. I know it was mentioned that 83% of the community in Brighton Park is Latino, but I'm not seeing any Latinos on the design team or any collaborations in regards to how the project came about. So if you could tell me if there were any collaborations with any Latino firms or companies thus far.
I could speak to that. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. Actually, the AP Monarch is our partner on this project, and they are a Hispanic-owned firm, and they've been helping us with all the community engagement. And the mechanical engineer for the project actually lives in Brighton Park. His name is Marcos Guerreros. So we have made an effort to, include people on the design team as close as we could that live proximate to this neighborhood or actually in it.
Which
Well,
means,
good.
go ahead, Commissioner.
Yeah, I mean, good to hear that there's some participation from the community. I know in terms of jobs, it's definitely gonna make a difference in local hiring, and obviously it's gonna represent the community. I do want to mention that we have to do better, especially in neighborhoods like this, because it is important for people to see themselves represented in projects that are going in their community, and see their faces on the people that are making this happen. I just want to make that point. I appreciate the fact that most of the visuals had a translation. I think that's an important step in making the community feel integrated. But I also noticed that not a native speaker did the translations. So that's where we have to be more sensitive in terms of, if we're gonna do those moves, we just have to be more sensitive about who we're showing it, who we're including, who we're representing, and who is it for. But that's, I truly, I'm proud of this happening, and I completely support it.
Commissioner, let me interject too. It's Mike, Commissioner Kelly. Thank you for your comments. I hear you loud and clear. We certainly, I think we have a very good track record of in the past on our projects, and certainly we intend to follow suit with this one. As many people as we can employ from the community, as many people of Latino background that we can employ, we will do so. It's it's the whole fundamental reason why we went there, was to be a part of something new and exciting and bringing a downtown operation and headquarters and vibrancy to the South Side. So I hear you loud and clear, and we will work very hard on that. And I would also say that in anticipation of any further questions on construction and whatnot, we're out to bid right now. So I can't really comment on team makeups yet on the bidders, because it's out to bid. So there'll be more information with that regard forthcoming.
Thank you. Commissioner Burnett.
Yes, thank you very much. First of all, am I muted? Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. First of all, I just want to say this is a beautiful project. Excuse me, I got this other meeting on. This is a beautiful project. I commend the designers on what they've done here. I commend the alderman for having this built in his ward. I commend the Park District on moving there. Going over there on Fairbanks was always a challenge, with parking and all of those things, to see you guys. So this will open it up and make it more convenient, not only for people who are doing business with you guys, but also for your employees. And also it'll help them to be able to buy lunch at places in this neighborhood, which I'm sure is cheaper than buying lunch down there on Fairbanks in Illinois. I think this is beautiful. I commend you all. From what I understand, Commissioner, you said that you guys sold the building and you're using that money to do this, and are you using any other type of funds?
So we sold, Commissioner, Mike Kelly for the record, we sold at the time was the largest condominium deal in the history of Chicago. We sold our space. We sold our space a couple of years ago, and then we've been moving out floor by floor and moving our staff to various locations throughout the city. So that we're going to use those proceeds. Again, we use TIF to buy the land and help with the remediation, and then we're still working on a finance package to fund the rest of it. So there's a couple of different options, sale leaseback type options that we're working on now. So
how much TIF dollars was used in this?
8.5 on the land purchase.
The land costs 8.5 or it costs more?
Heather, do you know? I think it was all in 8.5, but Heather,
Yeah, it was all in 8.65 million, and we are grateful to the city for helping us buy the land with TIF dollars.
Yeah, and how much does it cost to do the project?
We're not, it's a lot, and I'm not being flippant. It's out to bid. Government all too often tips its hand. I'd rather not tell the market right now what my budget is. It's going to cost a lot.
Okay, so you bidding everything out, but how are you going to pay for that? Through your budget?
We're going to have to figure out a financial package. We don't have the cash in hand to pay for the whole thing right now.
So you don't know.
Mike, if I could add to part of our request to our bidding community, because the bids are out on the street, is that they also suggest some financing mechanisms. So we put that into our bid documents so that we can get some creative ideas from the private market as well. So we're hoping that will help.
All right, so it could possibly be some bonding or some other stuff in order to do this.
Yeah,
but you would save money on your rental of other properties where some of your employees are right now. That's going to come over here, right?
Yeah, I think it's imperative to understand too. We had to leave our headquarters. Northwestern is pushing us out. They've been great landlords, but they need the space for the hospital. So we had to move, and we figured owning was always better than renting. So yeah, the long-term savings is significant.
Well, again, I think this is a very unique and beautiful design, very holistic for the community. I'm so happy for that neighborhood. I'm happy for the aldermen. I think kudos to you, aldermen, getting it to come to your ward. If I knew that they were looking in my ward, man, I would have took this from you. You just don't know.
You know what's funny, Alderman? We know this. I mean, if I have one regret, right, it's that I couldn't build 50 of these, right?
Yeah, no. Well, fortunate and unfortunate for me. I don't have this kind of space for this. But congratulations to everybody that's involved, and look forward to seeing this thing come to fruition. And maybe it's 4800 South, but I can still drive my car over there and enjoy that park. It's very beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Burnett. Commissioner Cox, followed by Commissioner Reyes. Okay.
I just wanted to reinforce some of the comments that have been made thus far, starting really with my congratulations to Commissioner Kelly for taking the commitment that the city has to neighborhoods to an entirely new level, both deciding to move your headquarters into the neighborhoods, but also giving the city a new neighborhood park that effectively remaps the entire neighborhood with that kind of catalytic investment. It is probably the best example I've seen thus far of the city putting its money where its mouth is, and that is bringing these resources into neighborhoods and being the catalyst for reinvestment. There is a natural synergy between this park location and the new field house and the Invest Southwest investment that's being made on West 47th Street. The idea of being able to take a city headquarters, marry it with a field house, and create a new neighborhood park. I think the pairing of those two are really just inspiring. And so it seems everything about the project and the deliberateness of its location points to its potential for success. I would also say it's probably the most handsome publicly commissioned building I have seen since my time here. And so really kudos to the design team. I think Ronan Architects is an inspired choice with a pretty significant track record here in creating these kinds of facilities. And I think the programming, the way in which they've interwoven field house and district headquarters and public space is going to be a model. And then the extended landscape through the site design work. Again, I think we're looking at an award-winning public intervention, no question about it. I do want to say a couple of things about the what it potentially does. When I said it could remap the neighborhood, I was really intrigued by the number of schools that are within that vicinity. From the prep, there's a preparatory school, and then there's a middle school right next door. Whether any thought was given to one, how those schools would get connected, whether it's through bike paths or walkways. It appears that there are right-of-ways that could be purposed or repurposed for biking and pedestrian connections between these different assets, different parks in the area, and different schools. So obviously that's something that we can still do, but that's the first thing that I noticed. And then of course, when you put a multi-million-dollar park, it raises the property values of all of the land around it. And so I can't help but think of some opportunities just adjacent to the park that look like now a great site for maybe family housing. And I, be happy to partner and work with you to look at how we might unleash the opportunity for new housing for families in close proximity to the park. So those are just two things that I think are opportunities that the location of this park and Fieldhouse represent, the ability to have a coherent network of bike and pedestrian connections, as well as development parcels for housing for families in the adjacent parcels, which I don't think the city owns, but they still should be looked at strategically to support this vision. So again, I just wanted to put it in a larger context and underscore that this park has with the mayor's investment in this portion of Chicago. My compliments to everybody involved in bringing this today.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Reyes.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to echo, I think this is an amazing project. I mean, truly bringing headquarters of the Chicago Park District to the heart of Brighton Park and back of the yards. It's an amazing economic development opportunity that I am super excited and congratulate the Chicago Park District for this direction. The matter that makes me sad, though, is what Commissioner Flores mentioned earlier, to see that it would have been better if the outcome would have included a larger Latino participation. And I'm not just talking about professionals, I'm also talking in the form of the community participation. And I know that we had to deal with COVID, but nevertheless, this would have been a perfect opportunity to truly rail in all the community members and the consultants and professionals, because this is in the heart of the Latino community. But it's a beautiful, beautiful project. And again, an amazing idea to bring the headquarters of the Chicago Park District to the heart of a community that desperately needs this kind of investment.
Thank you, Commissioner Reyes. I have a couple of comments, a couple of questions, and then a comment. One is, did I hear a timeline?
I can answer that, Madam Chair. So yes, I apologize, we didn't talk about next steps. So it's a pretty aggressive schedule. As Commissioner Kelly mentioned, we are looking to get going as quickly as we can. So we hope to start construction. Obviously, we're out to bid right now this winter, so hopefully December. And then we would hope to have the project done by 2022 in the spring. So it's a rather aggressive timeline. And if I could for just a moment, I wanted to take a second to just readdress some of the questions about the participation of the Latino community. So we actually did work, the consulting firm that John mentioned, AP Monarch, has a lot of Native speakers on staff, and that's why we asked them to participate. And so when we had meetings, so Shields Elementary focused or hosted us at the Brighton Park Neighborhood Council, and we had both Native Latino speakers as well as Native English speakers there. And we were doing live translations while we were doing community outreach and talking about it. So whenever one of the Native Spanish speakers would speak, then our translators would translate the question, then we would answer it, and the same with the English as well. So I know it might not appear that we had a lot of outreach, and we are always going to be working on that. And obviously we're going to be neighbors very soon, so we're really looking forward to working with the community. But we did offer, the outreach and translation services so that we could hear their voices and hear, and a lot of them when we were talking mentioned having public art involved in the project, which John Ronan has thoughtfully made space for that as well, so that we could work with local artists. So they really did provide a lot of input to the project. So I just wanted to reiterate that. Thank you.
Local artists and maybe even some of the kids. Thank you very much. That's helpful. Okay, so a couple of things. One is, I too want to congratulate Commissioner Kelly and everybody involved in this project. I mean, it's really exciting. I love also that the designers thought about the boulevard and the park sort of design as a frame to think about this. I think that's really important, and because that is one of the strengths of Chicago. So I really like that about the design. I'm also really excited about, because all of it actually is all very exciting, but I know that the firm that Mr. Wong represents, I know they're going to produce some really exciting landscape design to this project, which is just going to take this project to a whole nother level. We know from when we see their other designs, it's phenomenal what they're able to do. So I'm really excited also that their firm, Mr. Wong's firm, is involved in this project. So congratulations to everybody. I want to follow up a little bit on the comments from Commissioner Flores and Commissioner Reyes. Yes, this is a Latino community. It is primarily Mexican community. You notice that the median income, we didn't see the sources on the slide for where that data came from, assuming it's census, but we didn't necessarily get the exact information. But we do know that it is primarily Latino, primarily Mexican neighborhood. With that median income, I just want to point out that is a reflective of a large household size. I also want to just remind us, that this is also the area where a lot of the essential workers that have helped us get through this pandemic, where they live, whether it's workers in various sort of manufacturing, whether they're the construction workers, health food workers, health food workers, and warehouse workers, and so on and so forth. So we owe a lot to the people who live in this community, and it's really exciting that we're bringing green space to them. A couple of issues that I want to sort of highlight. This is what happens when you have diverse representation on these kinds of boards. One is, and this is part of one of the things I think I'm hearing a lot of people express both excitement and concern about the Invest Southwest, because on one hand, it's going to bring revitalization. The challenge is, how do you bring revitalization without gentrification? So I'm wondering, or I guess I'm encouraging housing department and all others to think about providing affordable housing, because what we don't want to do is end up 10 years down the road with this beautiful park here and the majority of the Latinos pushed out of the neighborhood. So I think everything has to be done on the part of DPD, on the part of housing, on the part of all the city agencies, on the part of the aldermen, to the extent that they might have any impact on that. But we need to make sure that this project does not result in the gentrification of this neighborhood. And so that figure of 83% Latino, we don't want to see that number drop. They deserve these amenities too, and shouldn't be pushed out just because they're getting this kind of amenity in there. So I just want to bring that to our attention now, and so we can do a lot of preventative work, because this kind of big project is going to be something that could spur that kind of displacement. And what we want is revitalization, but we don't want displacement. And so I really wanted to highlight that point. Secondly, and this is a comment to Mr. Ronan, but really it's to your industry, right? It's to architects. So I know that some of your early renderings had people in them, or at least images of people in them. And then I think based on my comments, that those were then, the people were taken out, but we're left with these sort of shapes, these white shapes. And by the way, white shapes with one body type. So remind us really of what those figures were before they were just made white. And I know that this is a problem, I think, with some of the renderings that you have available to you, right? Some of the images in these renderings. And that's why I say it's partly a comment to your industry. And I want to remind us in the city of Chicago, we're 30, 30, 30 in terms of 30 Latino, 30 African American, 30 European American. And among the European Americans, we have a lot of diversity in Southern Eastern European, Northern European, and that represents a range of hues, body types, etc., characteristics. And then we have Asians, Southeast Asians, and others, right, that are part of our population. So I think, I want to pick up on a comment that Commissioner Flores made about people seeing themselves. And someone I heard a comment recently, we're saying these renderings don't matter. Well, they do matter in terms of whether or not people see themselves. And if this park is for the people of this neighborhood, then they need to be seen in those renderings. And so even in a community process, if you show them pictures where they're not even in those pictures, that says to them, here's a park, it's going to be in your neighborhood, but it's not necessarily for you. And I don't think we often think about, or some of us do, but I think your industry perhaps may not think enough about what that message conveys. And that also means even, the nuclear family, as kind of this model. You have large families, you have you have income, a household variation, you have multi-generational people. So it's really a statement, I think, I guess, for whom this is relevant. And I'm not targeting you, Mr. Berkshire or Mr. Ronan or anybody, in the design industry, of the represented design firms, but really more your industry and the extent to which I think you guys can really be mindful of this. It does matter whether or not people see themselves in these renderings. And I think it gives a message whether or not your design is for the people that you're presumably designing this for, or whether it's really for somebody else. And then I think that issue is important, especially if we juxtapose that issue to the pending threat of gentrification with such an incredible project. So thank you, commissioners, and thank you various consultants and so on for thinking about what I'm saying. And again, to the architects and to your industry, please be mindful of this. I've had to raise this issue before. I don't want to have to keep raising it. And I think it's something you all need to talk about among yourselves. And again, it's not just replacing something with the same body type and not taking into account the other characteristics of these populations, but truly thinking about who are you designing this for? And then that shows up in what you design, because this population is a soccer playing population. Of course, they call it football. But I think, I presume that those fields are going to be, they're going to be soccer fields. So I just wanted to, be sure that we put that out there, put that out for the record, and hope that people will think about that. But I also want to end on the note congratulating you, Commissioner Kelly. This truly is exciting, and Ms. Gleason, for your hard work. It looks like that is an ambitious schedule, but that's really, really exciting. So big kudos to the Chicago Park District. With that, let me turn to Commissioner Lyons.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for your comments and thoughts. Appreciate that. I think that very thoughtful, and to Commissioner Flores as well. And overall, just really also want to commend the team, the project team, see the department, the Parks Department, and the Alderman for this. I think it's great to see a project that really will bring a lot, especially to the folks who live and work down there, work hard, and really deserve a great project like this. So thank you all.
Thank you, Commissioner Lyons. Commissioner Cox.
Yes, can I be heard?
We can hear you.
Okay. I appreciate Madam Chair raising the issue. It's something that the Planning Department is thinking about constantly as we are talking about equitable development in the portfolio of opportunities that are being teed up for the Invest Southwest. And it does matter. It really does matter who are in those images. And we took great pains as we tried to project what the mixed-use development might be on these commercial corridors to make sure that those who live in those neighborhoods see themselves reflected in all of those renderings. And so I think you said it very eloquently, so I don't have to restate it, but I would encourage the design team and the Park District to go back in those renderings and correct that impression that these are types of capital investments that will gentrify the neighborhood, because that's the hidden message that people often take away when they don't see themselves reflected. They think that a beautiful new park and a beautiful new field house, which is for them, is actually not for them because they don't see themselves in those images. So I think that can be easily corrected, and I really would encourage both the client and the design team to take the chair's recommendations and the other commissioners quite seriously. I'm also mindful that we have an unusual opportunity to monitor whether these kind of investments gentrify or reinforce the community that's already there. We have the stats on what the current population is, the current demographic is, so we can track whether these capital investments change the composition of that community, or we can anticipate through our public policy of identifying sites that for redevelopment, for housing, for those communities that are currently there. And I certainly will be working with the Department of Housing and Commissioner Navarra to really begin to look at possible parcels for new housing in the area, because these kind of investments should spur private development, but we want it to be development that's that produces a kind of inclusive growth. So these are things I think that as a public entity putting these kind of investments in neighborhoods, we have to be like super attentive that we get the desired outcome that these investments are intended. And I'm confident the way the deliberateness in which this project has been conceived, it is very much in line with a lot of the values that we're talking about. I think it just has to now be reflected in everything they do and show the general public. But it's still, by far one of the most transformational investments I've seen over my time here. And I just want to continue to lift up what's really, really positive about this project and congratulate everyone involved.
Thank you, Commissioner Cox. And just on the point about the gentrification, I think hopefully not track gentrification, but track efforts that are made to make sure that the gentrification doesn't occur.
Exactly.
I don't know. Thank you. I don't know exactly offhand what the home ownership rate is. I think it's higher than a lot of other. I could easily find it, but because we actually did a report on Latino neighborhoods. But my recollection is that the home ownership rate here is good. But I think, I think what we want to do is we want to think about how to make it better, how to ensure that people can stay in those homes, how to increase the number of people who can have homes, and increase also the availability and maintain the affordability. So, but again, all of this is, all of these are important points to make, but none of it is intended to take away the glory from this wonderful project and from you, Commissioner Kelly, and all the people that are involved in doing this. So I'm not seeing any more hands. I do also want to note that we had Alderman Burke in here earlier speaking that he is in support of this. And with that, I am ready to take a motion on this proposed plan development submitted by the Chicago Park District for the property generally located at 4800, 4858 Southwestern Avenue and 2401-2559 West 48th Street, finding that it meets the requirements for approval.
So moved.
Seconded by Commissioner Cox.
I heard two women voices though, so let me get them as the first and second. Was that you, Commissioner Flores, is the one who made the motion? And the second one was?
It wasn't me, but I can do it.
Oh, I know, I heard two women voices.
It was Novara and Lyons.
Okay, Commissioner Vada and Commissioner Lyons. Nevada first, Lyons second. Okay, now the roll call vote, and I've got some proxies. So Commissioner Biaggi is a proxy, yes. Commissioner Brumfeld?
Yes.
Commissioner Burnett? Who was the other proxy, yes? Okay, Biaggi and Shaw. Okay, Burnett, Commissioner Cordova is a yes. Commissioner Cox?
Yes.
Commissioner Flores?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly is recused. Commissioner Lyons?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy? Commissioner Nevada?
Yes.
Commissioner Reyes?
Yes.
Commissioner Shaw is a proxy, yes. Commissioner Tunney?
Yes.
Commissioner Villegas? It's hard when these aldermen have to juggle multiple meetings at once.
Commissioner Burnett say yes. I'm sorry.
That's okay, thank you. Commissioner Wegisbuck?
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Yes,
The motion. Congratulations, Commissioner Kelly, Ms. Gleason, and everybody
Madam
involved.
Chairman, we have Commissioner Murphy votes yes on this. He just texted me.
Oh, great. Thank you, Commissioner Murphy. Fantastic. Congratulations. This is awesome.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Congratulations, Superintendent.
Thank you very much, everyone.
The next item on the agenda is listed as D4 and is proposed amendment to Waterway Plan Development 1339 submitted by 2017 Baker Mandel LLC for the property generally located at 2017 North Mandel Street in the North Branch Industrial Corridor. The applicant seeks to amend the plan development to add cannabis craft grow, including accessory cannabis dispensary, cannabis processor, and cannabis infuser as allowed uses subject to the provision listed under section 17-9-0129 of the Chicago zoning ordinance to the plan development. No changes are proposed to the exterior of the existing four-story building. This is in the second ward. Emily Thron, of course, has her slides up and ready to go. Will provide the context overview and the applicant will present their proposal. Go ahead, Ms. Thron.
Thank you. For the record, my name is Emily Thron with the Department of Planning and Development. The applicant appears here today because they are proposing to amend Waterway Plan Development 1339 to add cannabis-related uses prior to establishing the plan development as amended. The subject site is located in the Logan Square community area. There are over 72,000 people in the area, with 61% of the population between the ages of 20 and 49. The median household income is over $75,000. The site is outlined in yellow and contains an existing four-story commercial building that was renovated in March 2018. No changes are proposed to the exterior of the building as a part of this amendment. The site is near the intersections of Ashland, Elston, and Armitage, and the site is located in a transit-served location and is approximately 690 feet northeast of the Metro Clybourne Station. The site is also located near CTA bus stops, including the CTA's Ashland Express, and Armitage bus stops. The surrounding land uses for the area include industrial and commercial. Across the north branch of the Chicago River is the future Lincoln Yards development. The surrounding zoning districts in the immediate area are M3-3 and Plan Development 1439. The site is located in the North Branch Industrial Corridor and in the North Branch Corridor overlay. This is an aerial view of the building during its renovation work. And this is an image of the building looking north and south on Mendel Street. And an image with a direct view of the frontage of the building on Mendel. And these are images of the different elevations of the existing building. The image to the bottom right of the screen shows the existing riverfront setback that was established as part of the PD's prior approval. The proposal is subject to the North Branch Framework Plan adopted by the Chicago Plan Commission on May 18, 2017. The goals of the plan are to maintain the North Branch Industrial Corridor as an important economic engine and a vital job center within the city of Chicago, provide better access for all transportation modes, and build upon the North Branch Industrial Corridor's unique natural and built environment. Now I will turn the presentation over to Michael Esger, the applicant's attorney, who will further explain the details of the proposal.
Thank you very much, Emily. Good afternoon, Commissioner and members of the Commission. Michael Esger, attorney for the applicant, and the applicants are here with us today as well. This is a technical amendment to add a use to an already approved and built plan development. This is was approved 4 years ago, and the building that you're seeing here is a really terrific renovation of what was industrial buildings on this street of Mendel Street. The amendment to allow the additional uses of cannabis craft grow, and including the accessory dispensary, cannabis processor and infuser, are all contingent upon first, this round of cannabis is social equity required, and the owner is working with a tenant that still, of course, needs to get their license from the state, and we don't know exactly what the timing, if and when that will occur, but in anticipation, we're trying to set it up for success. No changes at all are proposed to the building or any of the approved plans, as you'll see. Next slide. The site plan was reviewed and approved by CDOT. We pointed out a few things that actually were amended since 2016, but of course approved already previously before constructed, including outdoor bicycle racks, existing outdoor space that's there on the street now, which makes this property very unique on Mendel Street. We have our existing loading and of course the existing 18-foot wide river trail that was all part of the renovation of this project previously. Next slide. Warren Baker, who owns the building, his group owns the building, has invested in things that are consistent with the North Branch framework, public art being really significant. This is a really unique thing we wanted to talk about for a moment. He has separately and privately commissioned artists, local artists, to do some street work and improve the whole area. He worked with other of his industrial neighbors that are still there. This one is perhaps most recognizable. Hebrew Brantley's Flyboy is something that we've seen. I think that there was a big exhibit in Pilsen at the beginning of this year as well for a while. And so this is one example of the improvements that this project has brought to Mendel Street. Next slide. Another example, this is on Horween Leathers facing, on their property facing Mendel Street. So again, this was the applicant's attempt to go above and beyond the PD to enliven the area. So we had, once Mr. Brantley had done his work, other artists were able to come along and get excited about this as well. Next slide. of course, pursuant to the former PD and as well as the North Branch framework, the applicant here completed the renovation of the entire property, the building and the river walk. You can see the river conditions before and now as they exist after. And of course, maintaining this trail, we would hope that someday in the future, the trail will connect to other properties that will also restore that condition. The next slide. Again, this is already approved. We're not changing anything. It's just about a use, but we did want to point out that the work that was done is very consistent with and this use is consistent with the North Branch framework, tech office, advanced manufacturing, the transit access encouraged. This is in close proximity to Metra, bike routes. We have compliant bicycle access on site. We also have the river walk, as I previously mentioned, and of course, we've met the sustainability requirements. Next slide. The public benefit. Right now the building has been built shell and core. However, it still needs to undergo an interior remodeling, and certainly if we can get some tenants, including the one that we're hoping to get, that will be a $20 million renovation. There's going to be temporary construction jobs. There's going to be created just by this use 40 new jobs, and there's one existing tenant in the building. The rest of the space still needs to be built out, and we're hoping to create more jobs and more economic activity. Of course, we agreed that any of this interior build out work going forward would comply with WNMBE local hiring goals. And again, the public art that I previously mentioned is something that's really unique and really well received on the street. And I think that's when I turn it back over to Emily.
Thank you. The Department of Planning and Development has reviewed the materials submitted by the applicant and has concluded that the proposal would be appropriate for the following reasons. The proposal is in line with existing development patterns in the area, which have been predominantly manufacturing and commercial. The proposal is consistent with the goals in the North Branch Framework Plan. And additionally, the proposed development is compatible with the character of the surrounding area in terms of use, density, and scale. Please refer to my staff report for further details on the project and the plans identified here today. Based on the foregoing, the zoning administrator recommends that the application to amend Waterway Plan Development 1339 be approved and forwarded to the City Council Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards as such. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Unn. Commissioner Burnett.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, Madam President. I just have a question. So with the, and probably for the attorney, with the craft grow, he was mentioning about the social equity component of the craft grow. I don't think a lot of folks been paying a lot of attention to the social equity component of this marijuana dispensary stuff. Is there a social equity component to the craft grow, and what is that requirement?
Yes, thank you, Alderman Commissioner. There is. So in this round of state licensing for all craft grow, as we understand it from the state, that all of the craft grow facilities have to have a social equity component in order to, well, as a practical matter, to meet the required points that you would need to be awarded a license. So as we understand it, all of the craft grows, not just the one that we're talking about here, that were supposed to be awarded already, but the state's a little bit behind, do incorporate a social equity 51%, well, it's social equity applicants. So there's various ways you can achieve that. But in this case, we're working with a social equity applicant owner, 51% owner.
Okay, so the proprietor of this craft grow, we rezoning this property so they can put it in there.
We are just, all we're doing right now is making the use possible. The underlying zoning before this became a PD was PMD2, which allowed that use. We are now a PD, which has specific uses outlined in the PD agreement statements. And so we're just adding this so that it can be a use if the particular tenant that we're talking to gets a license, then he would have to go through the special use process. So all of the questions that I know that you and others are concerned with would have to be thoroughly vetted by the department and the ZBA, of course. So that would happen after they get a
It still have
license.
to go to the ZBA. So right now
Absolutely.
we're amending the PD. We're
Correct.
amending the PD to allow for a craft grow, or allow for a zoning that include craft grow. Could it be
Just to allow for the zoning, just to allow for the use to be appropriate in the PD, so that if we get licensed, we have the ability to then go to the next step to the ZBA. So it's no different than the rezoning that you recently that underwent in the West Loop, where we're just making the zoning possible so that it's a permitted use under the zoning, subject to getting a special use. So
in the PD situation.
that's right. That's right. So that's it.
The craft grow person is not the owner. Yeah.
That is correct.
So
That is correct.
Mm-hmm.
That is correct. And they don't even have a license right now.
So who is that? Who is this craft grower?
The tenant that I don't even know the name of the tenant that we're talking to. I'm not sure if that's okay to discuss, but I do have my client on the Zoom, and we could.
So you represent the owner of the building, not the tenant.
Correct. So I'm doing this. Yeah. Yes.
So I like to talk to the tenant. So
if you would have that opportunity if he gets licensed.
So we rezoning it for a tenant, right? How many jobs is a tenant gonna have?
The tenant is going to have 50 jobs created for this use, approximately 50 jobs. Well,
and then
temporary jobs and then permanent jobs.
And then the tenant. So I see your public benefits here, 20 million investment. So the tenant is going to do the investment?
No, that would be the ownership that would invest in the build out of the space.
The owner is going to redevelop the place with 200 jobs and created for a use of about 40 jobs. Permanent jobs is 44, created for use of approximately 50, and WBE goes. Okay, so so you're the owner of the property is, and I'm sorry I'm on both of these meetings, but the owner of the property is rehabbing this place, or is rehabbed already?
They've done they've rehabbed the building completely. The space that a potential craft grow user could go into is right now raw space and would require some significant additional build out. It's because right now it's just open space. So if a craft grower could get a license. Yeah.
So the owner of the property is committed to doing that portion.
Correct.
So he's going to rent it out to the craft grower. He's not selling it.
That is correct.
So he's going to do the rehab. So do he know who his contractors are, Mike?
At this point, he doesn't, because again, we don't even know for sure that we're going to be able to do this, because the tenant that he's been talking to, at least, again, who knows if the license is going to come, right?
Yeah,
right. So so this is just to be in a position to be able to do this. And if the licensing happens at some point, we hope it is soon for everyone's benefit in the city, then that tenant would work with the owner to make it happen.
And who owns this property?
It's an entity, but it's you might know Warren Baker.
Warren Baker?
He's the manager of the applicant.
He's the manager of the applicant.
The owner of the property is technically an LLC, 2017 Mendel, and that's the applicant. 2017 Mendel Baker LLC owns the property. And there's a group of folks. Warren is the one who has been he's the manager. He's the one who also has done this work to commission the artists to do the local street painting and other things in the community.
All right. And this is Wagaspak's ward?
This is actually Alderman Hopkins' ward. And Alderman Hopkins has, this has been reviewed by, there's a community group over here called NEBO, and both them and the Alderman has a letter on file supporting the project.
Who, NEBO, what does NEBO stands for?
North Elston Business Owners Association.
Okay. All right, fantastic. Okay.
Thank you very much, Alderman. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And Emily, we do have that letter on file from Alderman Hopkins?
Yeah, and also a support letter from North Branch Works.
Okay. Do we have any other questions then for staff, applicant, or the alderman? Well, the alderman's on here. Okay, so again, there's still a whole series of processes the applicant will need to go through in order to make this a reality. But this is at least one of the steps along the way. So with that, do I have a motion on the proposed amendment to Waterway Plan Development 1339 submitted by 2017 Baker Mandel LLC? Property located at 2017 North Mandel Street in the North Branch Industrial Corridor, finding that it meets the requirements of the
Commissioner Wagaspak moves to pass.
You made the motion?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Madam Chair, can I step in here? I think we should not have a motion for Commissioner Wagstaff. Never mind. It's Hopkins. Never mind.
Okay.
Yeah, it's second ward now.
Second by Commissioner Tunney.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, Commissioner Biaggi, you back.
Not for 2021.
Because if somebody can mute you, we're hearing somebody talking. Thank you. Commissioner Biaggi is not back. Commissioner Brumfeld?
Yes.
Commissioner Burnett? Commissioner Cordova is also a yes. Commissioner Cox?
Yes.
Commissioner Flores?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Commissioner Novata?
Yes.
Commissioner Reyes?
Yes.
Commissioner Shaw is back or not back? Not back. Commissioner Tunney?
Yes.
Commissioner Villegas? And Commissioner Wagaspak?
Yes.
Thank you all very much. Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
This does conclude the public hearing portion of our agenda. However, we do have one additional presentation that will be made. This falls under the chair's updates. I do want to take this chance before I call on Ms. Emily Thrun. I want to take this chance to reiterate to the plan commissioners that the Department of Planning and Development staff has confirmed that they are continuing to work on the master plan development guidelines, and that the staff does anticipate having an update in front of us in the very near future. So with that, we have an informational presentation presented here today by Ms. Thrun, Emily Thrun. This presentation will summarize previous planning initiatives as well as current planning efforts for the Fulton Market area. And then after she's presented, Alderman Burnett, I will see if you have any comments that you'd like to make, since this falls primarily in your district. So go ahead, Ms. Thrun.
Thank you. As the chairwoman mentioned, the purpose of this informational presentation is to summarize previous planning initiatives and current planning efforts in the Fulton Market area. The presentation will cover the context of Fulton Market, previous planning initiatives in the area, the Kinsey infrastructure study that was completed for this area, current statistics and market conditions, and finally, current planning efforts that are being undertaken for the area. The bolded red line is the boundaries of the Fulton Market Innovation District. It is generally bounded by Hubbard to the north, Halsted to the east, Washington to the south, and Ogden to the west, while the dashed red line is the boundaries of the Fulton Market Landmark District. The area shaded in purple is located in the Kinsey Industrial Corridor, and the area is served by the CTA's green and pink rail lines. Throughout the past years, the area has been the subject of many plans and initiatives, including the Fulton Market Innovation District Plan that was adopted in 2014. The focus of the plan was to provide land use guidelines, protect historic resources, and provide design guidelines. The plan did not recommend new residential uses north of Lake Street. Following the adoption of the plan, the Fulton Market District was adopted as a Chicago landmark in 2015. In 2017, the Fulton Randolph Market District Design Guidelines were adopted to provide guidelines for the rehabilitation, additions, and new construction within the landmark district. Additionally, in 2017, the West Loop Design Guidelines were adopted. The goals of the plan the design guidelines were to enhance the public realm, provide guidance on tower setbacks and transition of scale, and promote high quality materials and facade treatments for new projects in the area. The Kinsey Framework Plan was adopted in 2019, and the goals of the plan were to protect existing industrial uses in the western portion of the PMD and to support a greater mix of uses in the eastern portion of the PMD, which would serve as a buffer with downtown uses located east of Ogden. Finally, in 2017 and 2019, there were zoning code text amendments to remove the PMD zoning east of Ogden and retain PMD zoning west of Ogden. The zoning change also established an overlay district to supplement base regulations to limit future zoning amendments to downtown zoning, apply the industrial corridor fee system for future zoning changes, and apply the neighborhood opportunity bonus to the area and create a buffer zone. The department hired a consultant in 2019 to conduct a study to evaluate existing infrastructure conditions, identify opportunity sites that may be developed in the future, and to prioritize improvements for the area. The study found that 23 blocks were missing sidewalks, 43 crosswalks needed upgrades, 33 corners needed ADA upgrades, 182 light poles needed upgrades, 6 Metro crossings needed safety improvements, and the western part of Carroll and Lake Streets are most prone to 5-year flooding events. The study also found that there were multiple large full block opportunity sites for development. They are highlighted in orange on this map. And with the anticipated development of those opportunity sites, there's a potential to add up to 60,000 new jobs. Some of the short-term priorities this study identified included at-grade metro crossing improvements, installing missing sidewalks, crosswalks, and ADA corners, replacing or upgrading light poles, and adding divvy and bicycle stations. And some of the longer-term priorities identified that may require additional study include burying utilities, viaduct improvements, adding new bike lanes, and street network and section improvements. The area has seen over $58 million in infrastructure improvements by the city, including funds for the CTA Morgan Station, the Fulton Market Streetscape Project, and the Gateway signage. The Morgan CTA station was completed in 2012 and had over 1.1 million riders in 2019 and experienced a 5.6% increase in ridership from the year before. The area south of Lake Street has seen over 3,600 residential units approved, completed, or under construction. And the Fulton Market area has seen over 1,700 hotel keys approved, completed, or under construction. Finally, the area has 8.1 million square feet of office approved, completed, or under construction. However, the pandemic has put a major strain on the economy. Nationally, the gross domestic product shrank 32.9 annualized pace from Q2 to Q1. There have been increasing unemployment claims, and the payroll was reduced by 14.5 million compared to pre-pandemic. Locally, we have also experienced our own challenges. The downtown apartment occupancy rate is down to 89.2% in Q1, the lowest level it's been in 18 years. Occupancy rates at downtown hotels was below 20% as of mid-June. CTA rail ridership and O'Hare traffic are down, and the city has a budget shortfall of 1.2 billion in 2021. This slide identifies some of the planning efforts the city has undertaken. DPD has created a website that lists all available resources from the public, private, and nonprofit sectors that can help small businesses reopen. The city has closed Randolph Service Roads and Fulton Market to provide more opportunities for outdoor dining. Also, to better guide development in the West Loop, the department has gathered relevant plans, maps, guidelines, legislative information, and other resources in one place online for easier access. These documents are used when the department reviews proposed projects. This website provides a centralized place for applicants to obtain relevant information when developing their own proposals. Each resource is summarized for its purpose, provides a map of the area it encompasses, and a link to the document. The website also has information on the latest city initiatives impacting this area. It also includes a link to that infrastructure study I mentioned earlier. The Kinsey infrastructure study identified the need to improve 6 at-grade metro crossings at Greene, Morgan, Carpenter, Aberdeen, May, and Racine. Over 200 trains traverse these crossings each weekday, and pedestrian, bicycle, and vehicular traffic is increasing in this area. As this area transitions from manufacturing to commercial and mixed use. Recently approved planned developments near those crossings have included a developer contribution to help fund these necessary improvements. Additionally, CDOT and DPD also recently secured $850,000 in Kinsey TIF funds towards the design and phase 1 engineering of these 6 crossing improvements. Additionally, we are also encouraging plan development applicants to submit their 30% plans to CDOT's Office of Underground Coordination early to ensure coordination of underground utilities and services during the design phase for their projects. CDOT is currently in the final design and engineering phase for Lake Street improvements from Ashland to Halsted. It's expected to begin in 2021. The project will include alignment of the curb to face of the CTA columns, replacement of sidewalks, pedestrian bump outs, ADA improvements, street lighting improvements, and new trees. CDOT has also procured consultant services to study the proposed location, feasibility, and potential funding source for a new metro station to serve this area. The construction and timing of a new metro infill station is dependent on an extensive metro track realignment, capacity expansion, and realignment project in the corridor, the design of which is being studied concurrently. Finally, CDOT has also procured consultant services to study the reconfiguration of Randolph Street. The kickoff virtual meeting was held this past spring. Finally, DPD Central Planning staff has begun working on an update to the 2014 Fulton Market Innovation District Plan to consider new residential land uses north of Lake Street. DPD will currently start reviewing proposed residential developments north of Lake on a case-by-case basis. As a part of that review, we will need to evaluate and consider opportunities for open space and also evaluate the impact to schools. So that concludes the end of my presentation. Myself and other staff are available to answer any questions if there are any.
Alderman Burnett, would you like to comment? Thank you, Ms. Run.
Sure. First of all, I'd like to commend the Department of Planning for being detailed with a plan, trying to be holistic and considering all of the things that we may need in this community. We're blessed that this area is one of the economic engines for the city of Chicago. It's only fitting that we reevaluate it and look at how we can enhance it, but also look at how we can attract other developments to this community. The resiliency of this area has been so great, although we're in this time of the COVID-19 challenges that we're having across the city and downtown. This area hasn't missed a beat. People are still trying to develop over here. People are still entertaining themselves in this community. So we need to take advantage of this momentum and plan for the future and get ready for the big comeback, because there's going to be a big comeback after this COVID-19 is after we conquer the COVID-19. There's going to be a big comeback in the city of Chicago with developments going on all across this city. And so looking at this and planning and getting ready for the big comeback. I think about James Brown's song, The Big Payback, but I'm making it the big comeback. Everybody got to get ready, because that's a fact. Get ready, mama, for the big comeback. And the big comeback is coming in the city of Chicago. And we want to be ready here, but also at the same time, we want to continue to utilize this area to push development south, west, and north, because a lot of developments have happened because of the development that's over here. And making a plan for it and dealing with the infrastructure and transportation and all the other things that's involved with this is very well and good planning on the Department of Planning side. And I'm glad to be a partner in this and doing so. Thank you.
Alderman Burnett, thank you so much for that ray of optimism. And I'm going to go put on some James Brown and talk about the big comeback. I really appreciate that optimism. Sometimes it's hard to look past our immediate, so it's great to be optimistic. Thank you. Any more questions of staff on this presentation, or any comments anybody wants to make? Commissioner Cox.
Yeah, I just want to second Alderman Barnett's assertion that the city has to continually be updating our plans to respond to the realities on the ground. I think the slide that showed the very thoughtful and deliberate planning of Fulton Market that goes back to 2014, and almost every year subsequently, there has been an update and a revision and a layering. So, you know, planning is a continual practice. It's active. I think, you know, if people understood that Fulton Market didn't just happen because the private sector saw a great opportunity, it was actually incentivized through a series of strategic planning moves and thoughtfully laid out in terms of guiding the appearance, guiding the programmatic use, public realm enhancements, and now really beginning to understand what are the new opportunities that have been presented that are built on that success. So if ever there was a case to be made for how strategic planning can be in creating new economic opportunities, I think Fulton Market is an exemplary one. So I appreciate the fact that we're thinking about how we have to recalibrate that plan post-COVID. And so I think this effort and the set of recommendations coming forward on how we can do that is something that we should all get behind. So thank you for the presentation, and thank you for your work kind of in assembling this narrative, because it's very, very compelling.
Thank you. And this was an informational presentation, so there is no vote required. So I'm now moving to our final action, which is to conclude this month's meeting of the Chicago Plan Commission. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Commissioner Cox?
Commissioner Cox.
Okay, you guys, I actually have to do a roll call too, which means I need to go to a different, back to where I was, so I can read everybody's name. Commissioner Biaggi is not here. Commissioner Brumsfeld?
Here.
And so this is motion to adjourn. So Commissioner Burnett?
Yes.
Alvarez, yes. Cox, yes. Flores? Kelly?
Yes.
Lyons?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Murphy?
Yes.
Thank you. Novata?
Yes.
Reyes?
Yes.
Searle, excuse me, Shaw did not come back. Tunney? And Villegas and Wagasbuck?
Yes. Yes, Chairwoman.
Great, thank you so much, Commissioner. This month's meeting of Chicago Plan Commission is now adjourned at 1:02 p.m. Thank you very much, and all of you stay positive, and we'll see you next month. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you,
Thank
technical.
you.
Thank you,
Bye.
Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye, everybody.